Jonathan Taylor. There he goes again. 50, 40, down the far sideline. He might do it again. 10, 5, touchdown. I-N-D-Y.
The Eastern Conference Championship has been captured by the Indiana Pacers.
Alex Pillow wins the 109th Indianapolis 500.
This is the Fan Morning Show with KB, JB, and Jeff.
And a good Tuesday morning to everybody out there. Thank you for spending it with us. This is the Fan Morning Show, three-man weave today. Kevin Bowen, James Boyd, Mark Dykton, and I would say me leading the three-man weave on the basketball floor is kind of like the commute in this morning. We can maybe get to the layup eventually, but I don't know if it's going to be the smoothest thing in the world. Slightly better. That's what I'll go with for the morning commute. Now, Mark, this is your first commute from the west side, correct?
Yes.
You would give it what letter grade?
B. Still, obviously, the side streets, not great, but once I got to 65 South, I'd say it's pretty immaculate. It's pretty,
wow.
You can actually see the markings on the streets. The lanes are clear for the most part. B.
An immaculate there. And Mark Dykton is usually a hard grader when it comes to the roadways.
He's a resident hater.
James Boyd, you have our shortest commute in. Any observations?
Where I live on a side street, so it was much better than it was yesterday, just getting out to the main drag. So that was better. Yesterday I had to step on the gas, hit a reverse a couple times just to get over the turning lane because you know how it is, Kevin, when the snow gets piled up and you're driving on, like I said, my trusty Honda Civic doesn't always have the greatest traction when the snow is piled up, but today that was not really the case. Was able to get here a lot easier, and looking at the other roads on the way in, it is better, more cleaned off, and as usual, though, we will remind all of you, take your time. Just because it looks great, still drive slower than usual.
Yeah, and I don't know, as the day moved along yesterday, I'm like, I think we're still good for tonight in Bloomington. Because by all accounts, Southern Indiana got it worse than we did. And, again, we wake up here on this Tuesday morning, we're still good to go. It's a 9 o'clock tip down in Bloomington tonight. One of my favorite days of the year, frankly, from a local sports standpoint. This rivalry, I think, kind of speaks for itself, so I always enjoy it. So you'll burn a little bit of the midnight oil tonight. Again, 9 o'clock down there. 4.5-point favorites, the Boilers. One last thing I'll add. Just on the morning commute, because, Mark, I feel like we're still closed, e-learning galore.
We're 2-hour delay today for us.
2-hour delay? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, you guys, I feel like, are a little bit of the anomaly with that. I feel like a lot of people are still in that boat. The intersections look a little Scott McLaughlin on lap one of the Indy 500. The intersections are a little spinny. People are a little, tires are spinning, a little bit of ice, so just FYI on that. And I would say for my normal 2-lane commute down, we're still in like the one, you could maybe 1.5 it.
Mm-hmm.
So are you fully good on the highways, Mark? Are we, all the lanes are good to go?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I still wouldn't be going even the 55 or whatever the advertised speed limit is. I'd still be dropping it a little lower than that. But for the most part, I didn't see any cars on the side of the road. Didn't see any, semis going off exits that they shouldn't be or anything like that. That was 65 South. So I took a little bit different road than I normally would, but looked good from there.
Dropping it a little lower than that. Sounds like you and the clubs back in the day.
Me and Lil John the East Side boys.
You indeed.
Like drop it like it's how you and Snoop Dogg.
A garage door issue for Jeff Rickard. He'll be back with us coming up tomorrow. Rick Carlisle, 9:30. And when IU and Purdue pop up on the schedule, you like to hear it from both sides. So the voice of the Boilers, Rob Blackman, going to join us coming up at 8:30. And John Herrick, who, of course, you hear on the IU Radio Network, he will join us at 9. James, I just always look forward to it. There was a Matt Painter.
Wait a second. Are we buying the Jeff Rickard story? Let's not gloss over this. When he called me and told me what was going on, I did tell him no promises that we won't have like a Project X party here on the station while he's gone. But I don't know.
Yeah, garage door issue. I definitely had one recently. Now, my house was 1928 built. I'm going to go out on a limb and say my garage looks a little different than Jeff Rickard's garage here.
Yours goes down by Rickshaw, right?
Yes, correct. Yeah. If you could hear the sounds that my garage door makes, it's, earth-shattering, frankly. Yeah, so he said that, the workers could only get out there during the 8 to 10 window. Is that what he told us?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what he told us.
You sound highly skeptical.
I'm just saying, weather gets a little funky. Everyone's fighting a little something.
Well, he acted like
where's our leader?
He acted like the morning commute was a breeze yesterday. You know,
he did have the biggest car of all
expedition
of us.
actually.
Yeah.
Well, in the 8 to 10 window, I mean, it's going to take an hour for them to just get up that driveway that he was bragging about yesterday.
Well, that's why he's got Al to help him out there.
Right this way. Al's got the airplane hanger beams or whatever to drag you in.
You know, anytime for me, IU Purdue pop up on the schedule, I think back to Matt Painter had a quote a few years ago when he was looking back on his flirtation with the Missouri job. This would have been, over a decade ago at this point. And he said one of the things that he thought about was, when I pondered that job, I thought, if I do this, I will no longer walk into Assembly Hall as the head coach of Purdue. And that mattered to him. That mattered to him more than me doing the money sign right now. So I get that, the amount of Indiana players are certainly different. Purdue's got 4 very meaningful guys on their team. Indiana really has none outside of Trent Sisley. But still, James, this one I always circle and looking forward to tonight because I think you can make the case both teams need it badly.
We got an emotional Kevin Bowen here because this game means so much to him. But as we all fight through the cold weather here, I would agree. I think this is an opportunity for this IU team to kind of make a statement. And it's also in a unique spot where Purdue is kind of reeling and they got to get back on track a little bit. So it should be a very hostile type of game and environment down there in Mackey and
Assembly Hall.
Assembly Hall. But to me, a lot of it comes down to, how much can you hang with them? Can you just give yourself a puncher's chance at the end? Because like most of these matchups, when you have a super highly ranked team and a team that's kind of trying to establish their identity, Kevin, I think a lot of it has to do with, can you keep it within striking distance? Will the first 6 minutes of the game tell us how it's going to go? If you're down 10 at that first TV timeout or something like that, I don't know if you're going to be able to hang the rest of the game. So can you, put some pressure on that Purdue squad to have to play perfect down the stretch?
Yeah, and I guess, when I say it matters a lot to both teams, for Indiana, they need it desperately for their resume. Desperately. Purdue is more psyche-based, where you're at right now after having lost your last 2 games. And really, you had big leads late in those games. I mean, you went to the final media timeout of both the game at UCLA and against Illinois and had a lead. I believe it's 2-score lead in both of them. And let it get away. And I think back to last year's game, Purdue dominant in the first half down there in Assembly Hall, and then probably the best half of the Mike Woodson era there in that second half to pull off the upset. So we'll get you set all day long for that. I do think defensively, how each of these teams guard that power forward spot, I think is a key matchup. Again, Purdue wants to play big with Trey Kaufman-Renn and Oscar Clough. Indiana with Tucker DeVries at the 4. They want to stretch the floor a little bit. And that matchup, I think, is going to be just critical to, how much, Indiana has a chance here late
Can
in the
I ask
game.
you this real quick? What do you think of the season that Trey Kaufman-Renn has had so far?
Yeah, definitely not at the close to the All-American level.
Yeah.
Or even all Big Ten level, if you want to be honest.
Yeah.
And, Fletcher Lawyer needs to get going as well.
Yeah.
He played very well in the series last year. But, in terms of Trey Kaufman-Renn, we talked about it on yesterday's show. Last year when Purdue downsized, it was Miles Colvin, it was Cam Heide.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really have that this year.
Right, the explosive wing.
It goes to Jack Benter, who, has done a nice job, but, I don't think he's the 6'7" sort of, like you said, a guarding wing or even a small 4.
Right.
Like tonight, if this was last year, Matt Painter had the same personnel as last year, I think he'd be very content with Heide or Colvin running around with Tucker DeVries. It's a little different. But, Indiana's got to go guard them on the other end. And Tucker DeVries, and guarding him, I think, a little bit different.
Just kind of waiting for, that signature Trey Kaufman-Renn game in the Big Ten. I feel like we haven't had that as of late.
Sure.
Still a very talented player, though.
A couple people here chiming in on the text line. 69 South from Greenwood, clear and good to go, says Jim. Adam, 465 on the south and east side. Sporadic lanes with snow and ice. Watch 2 people spin into banks. So,
take your time, people.
Yeah, I think it's still a bit of a dicey morning. Were you guys fans of the snow day Pacers afternoon basketball? Did you like that?
Yes.
I enjoyed it. I figured it was it kind of felt like it was March, like March Madness, where, we get off the show or we get off work and, like you always say, Kevin, we don't have real jobs. So you come home and you turn the TV on. It's like, oh, wait a second, there's a game on right now. So I was able to dabble into that, and the outcome was not good for the Pacers. But at the same time, how are we defining not good these days? Because another loss keeps you in the running for the number 1 pick.
Certainly a tale of two halves. I thought that first half was one of the better halves they played in a while. Benedict Mathurin looked outstanding in his return there. 16 points in the first half, just hit, the variety of shots that we know is in his bag. Oh boy, that second half was ugly. Ugly. 31-point differential. Up, I think it was 16 and a half, lose by 15. So that rounds out a 1-4 road trip. They will be home tomorrow night, home on Saturday. And then, of course, the eyes on the NBA trade deadline coming up a week from Thursday. Again, Rick Carlisle going to join us coming up at 9:30. The other thing I watched a good amount last night was both those college basketball games. I don't know how much you guys tuned into that, but yeah, Cameron Boozer against Louisville and Mikael Brown. By the way, the only guy that showed up for Louisville was Ryan Conwell. I mean, literally the only guy, as Duke just blitzed them. And then I watched a good amount of BYU and Arizona. Oh, boy, Arizona.
They got a whip.
Man.
They got a whip out there, boy.
They look like Jeff Rickard in his expedition driving down here.
Yeah, they're loaded and still undefeated, and I thought they kind of got tested there at the end with the BYU comeback, but boy, that was theater. And again, it felt kind of like March.
Braden Burries, am I saying that name right? Is that the freshman?
I'm not sure how to say his name, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, him and Jaden Bradley were outstanding for Arizona. And I know it sounds weird on a night when A.J. Devanza goes 6 of 24 from the floor, but you do see it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you definitely see it there. Yeah, Arizona had a huge lead, almost blew it there down the stretch, but they win 86-83. So as James said, they are still undefeated. A couple things I want to get to today. We did have Omar Cooper officially declaring for the draft. I remember Dane Brugler when he joined us back in whatever that was, I guess Colts bye week, kind of mid-November. He had a lot of glowing praise for Cooper, back then. That was before the Penn State game. That was before the playoff run. So we'll play some of that audio here. And then start, I think, a little bit more on the Colts front, just where we're at here. Maybe with this ugly weather outside, maybe we look back on our favorite Colts moment of the season. Should we go there?
Oh, boy.
Do we need to be...
How cynical are we being, Mark Dykton?
Uplifting on this Tuesday morning?
I just assume Kevin's getting emotional because there's a big Notre Dame basketball game today.
Huge.
Season is on the line.
Huge. And Rake and I are still on, boys.
Oh.
Ooh.
We're still on.
Look at that.
Stoke the fire.
Well, you can get some what is it called? Gentleman's spray, or what's it called? The
oh yeah,
the throat spray,
the entertainer spray,
entertainer's delight, or something like that.
I forgot to bring that in. If I had that right now, it'd sound beautiful, wouldn't I?
I know.
I believe Northern Indiana's better, right, than Southern Indiana in terms of weather.
Yes, that is what I've gathered. Because all of the high school games that I still have a bunch of those pages that I follow on social media, and they were uploading scores left and right yesterday. But again, that was up in the Gary, East Chicago, Hammond area.
I did see one note from Kyle Nenrip, City Championship moving to Cathedral tonight. So will not be at Tech. And I thought he said that bumping up to 7. I would assume that has something to do with the e-learning. I don't know if there's an IPS rule. Hey, if we're on, an e-learning schedule, we can't hold athletic events, or what the exact details is on that. But FYI for people out there looking to catch that, Cathedral Cecina tonight at 7. All right,
Mountain Dew for Rake and tea and honey for Mr. Kevin Bowen today.
Tea and crumpets.
Fan Morning Show, 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
Checkdown. Brought to you by the Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships. March starts here. The Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships with NCAA tournament bids online. March 8th through 10th. Tickets and more at horizonleague.com/Indy.
All right, Rick Carlisle, 9:30. We'll talk a little Purdue and IU. Rob Blackman going to join us coming up at 8:30, and John Herrick from the IU Radio Network at 9. James Boyd, snow day basketball yesterday for the Pacers. It was a tale of two halves, up 16 at half, lose by 15 to the Atlanta Hawks. That is a 1-4 road trip for the Indiana Pacers.
Yeah, not ideal, but it was good to see Benedict Mathurin get back out there and play, I thought, pretty well.
Yeah, 16 for him in the first half there. He actually did not score at all in the second half there. It was really an ugly end of the third quarter in particular. Rick Carlisle did what he occasionally does, where he had the team rewatch, a chunk of the game in the post-game locker room. I'm sure some of those players were like, can we just get on the plane back to Indianapolis? But ugly end of the third quarter there. So Pacers will be back inside of Gainbridge Fieldhouse coming up tomorrow. I believe nothing until Saturday for them. And aren't we nearing NBA All-Star announcements? I feel like the reserves get announced here at some point this week.
I believe so. So in that case, we would have to keep an eye out on Pascal Siakam possibly getting a nod.
Yeah, Bulls at Pacers coming up tomorrow. All right, tonight in Bloomington, game still on Peacock. This will be John Fanta, Robbie Hummel and company. It is Indiana. It is Purdue, a 4.5-point underdog. The Hoosiers at home. You surprised at all about that line either way?
No, not at all. I feel like this is a pretty solid line to have, considering that IU struggled this season overall in Big Ten play, and then Purdue is a better team, but they're reeling a little bit.
So Purdue fell to number 12 in the rankings yesterday that came out again.
The horror.
As we've talked about it, Indiana just desperately needs something of note on the resume. They have yet to beat an NCAA tournament team. This obviously would qualify. Joe Lunardi, comes out with these updated bracketologies over on ESPN every couple days. He currently has Indiana as one of the first 4 teams out. He's got Butler a little bit behind Indiana. So if you're a Butler fan, you're wearing Purdue colors tonight in terms of cheering, and Butler is going to have a huge game tomorrow at St. John's that will fall into the quad 1 category. We get Kurt Signetti on the mic tonight, right? First home game since the football national title?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I guess that would make sense, but how spicy do you expect him to be? What does he have to say that he hasn't done already?
Well, if I've watched this IU basketball play this year, I would say it's up to me to win this game. So I'd be grabbing the mic and be real spicy.
Yeah, good point. Give him some juice. Give him some of that Kurt Signetti confidence.
NBA All-Star reserves will be announced on Sunday.
Oh, so we got
Sunday at 6 p.m.
Quite a while to wait on that. Braden Smith ankle, we good? We worried about that?
He looked mighty fine when he was trying to knock off my Illinois the other day, so I would expect the ankle to be fine.
So, again, that's 9 o'clock tonight. That is Peacock for those out there. Again, 4.5-point underdog, the Indiana Hoosiers. Nothing else really from me, like appointment-wise. I know we get the Senior Bowl started later this week, so from an NFL standpoint, you'll have a lot of news items down there. Mobile, Alabama. Elijah Surratt, Kalon Black for Indiana. Both, I guess they're participating. I don't know, sometimes the national champion guys, they just go and
meet with people and get measurements and stuff like that.
But that was really about it. Did you watch, I know we touched on it a little bit, did you watch any of that AJ DeBanza or Cameron Boozer last night?
Yeah, I think Cameron Boozer is being looked at as someone who can't be the number 1 pick because maybe he doesn't have the athleticism of AJ DeBanza or Darren Peterson.
He's too safe.
But I think he has a very high floor as a good NBA player. Very polished footwork, and the dude just puts up dominant numbers. I mean, we look at the National Player of the Year conversation. I would think he's probably leading it. That's how good he's been.
Leading the nation in scoring.
I know, and still giving you a double-double every night. So that was a good one. And then AJ DeBanza didn't shoot it all that well, but he's got some also, I believe, a couple other NBA players next to him on that roster, and they almost made that comeback against Arizona. But the Wildcats remain undefeated. Benedict Mathurin and TJ McConnell's Wildcats.
Yeah, so Arizona starts 3 freshmen, and then Jaden Bradley's been there for several years. He is outstanding. He was great last night in that environment. But yeah, Richie Saunders for BYU, Robert Wright, the transfer from Baylor as well. There definitely are some other pieces around Debanza. Debanza really struggled last night, 6 of 24. That first game, it was Louisville and Duke. Louisville's got Mikael Brown, thought to be a top 10 pick. He was horrific. Last night, really, Ryan Conwell. Shout out to the Pike product there, about the only one that showed up consistently there for Louisville. A couple other updates. Again, we mentioned this in the opening segment. It sounds like the city tournament, Kyle Neddenrip had this last night, city championship. A bummer to me because I think Tech is such a great venue for it. But that's going to be moved to Cathedral tonight. I assume that's weather-related, maybe e-learning related. But that is Cathedral Cecina, and I believe they bumped up that tip time to 7 o'clock. And then speaking of the NFL, Omar Cooper Jr. officially announcing yesterday he is off to the NFL. James, that is a man that is cashing in at the right time.
Absolutely. Stock will never be higher. Proved himself to be a guy who can play on Sundays, won a national championship. There's no boxes left to check at the collegiate level. So go get paid, young man.
Did you happen to see yesterday going around social media? We know about his catch against Penn State. Did you happen to see the catch he had against Michigan?
Yeah, so I didn't see this play live. I will admit that.
I totally forgot that this play even existed.
So,
can you describe this for Mark?
So he basically went up on the sideline, caught the ball, and got hit low, and then flipped backwards and still landed inbound while holding the ball.
The first body part that hit Mark was his head. Right?
Yeah, but like he didn't bobble the ball, caught it. It's good. It was a crazy acrobatic catch, and I mean, you got to be somewhat fearless to even go up and try to get that because you know if you go up that high, you're gonna get hit. So he's a tough dude, and those types of catches will obviously help you when you're sitting down next to an NFL GM or NFL scout, and you're saying, you know, why can I trust you to play on Sundays? Well, look at my tape.
Yeah, I'll continue to say baby Deebo Samuel vibes I get from him. You know, he made a couple plays in the national title game I thought were huge. Obviously, the Penn State catch speaks for itself. We'll play some of that Dane Brugler audio coming up because I know he was really high on him early on. And just in this day and age in college football in particular, staying 4 years through a coaching change.
Yeah.
How many of those are we going to get?
It's rare. I actually thought that a couple of guys at The Athletic, they did a story on the guys that stayed, and they weren't necessarily the JMU guys. They were I've been here at IU, and I've kind of gone through the old coaches out, Cignetti's in, I got to prove myself all over again. And I thought that was a fun piece to kind of detail how unique the team build was because it wasn't all transfers. It wasn't all guys who stayed. But to Kurt Cignetti's credit, he found the right blend of players with the right character because I think it's very hard to sell that dream and to get a bunch of young people to buy into it when you haven't done it yet. And now that they have, it'll be easier to build on that, I think.
We'll go over who is staying, who's going down there in Bloomington. Certainly preview the big one tonight in the 812. And also, what if with the Indianapolis Colts as we look back on last season. Reminder, Rick Carlisle, 9:30, Rob Blackman, 8:30, right, Mark? And 9 o'clock, John Herrick. I'll update you morning commute-wise. I'd say probably slightly better for me. Mark Dykton gave a B from the west
immaculate,
side there.
According to him.
Yeah, a B and
65
immaculate.
South, immaculate B.
I don't know if those two fall in the same category, but still, if you can afford to stay inside your house for at least a chunk of the day, I would advise you to do so. Good Tuesday morning to you. Thanks for spending with us right here. It's The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
9 o'clock tonight in Bloomington. It is the Peacock Special with John Fanta, the high energy of John Fanta, and Robbie Hummel. I'm going to be on the call there. I continue to feel bad about, obviously, the weather situation impacting things, because you think about the crowd Saturday at that national title celebration, and I assume the crowd will be impacted tonight.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Don't think you're getting 17,000 in there at 9 o'clock.
No, not at all. But nevertheless, it still should be a good environment, I would think.
Just a massive one for Indiana in terms of trying to get something here on the resume. For Purdue, they have lost 2 in a row. Now, you want to be glass half full. You've led by, 5 and 6 points, I think, at the final media timeout, both these games. And, with Braden Smith, your ability to close the game usually, I think, is heavily in your favor. But I can't wait. Weirdly, James, if you were to compare Indiana and Purdue basketball programs over the last 10 years, it's not comparable at all. Right. Purdue's in a different stratosphere. But one of the wildest stats of the Mike Woodson era is he split against Matt Painter.
That is true. Because if I'm not mistaken, didn't Jalen Hood-Schifino have a great game?
Off in Mackey. This probably was a couple of years ago. Now, I was thinking Jalen Hood-Schifino when your boy Wagler went off on Saturday. Yeah. Now, Wagler was more of volleyball line. Hood-Schifino was
downhill.
Watch me hit every mid-range jumper known to man. And do you remember the Robert Fennessy game winner?
I do remember that.
So I think that was maybe the first meeting.
That's such a weird anecdote about the Woodson era.
Right. Last year, a huge second half down there in Assembly Hall. And I think for the most part, they were pretty competitive in Mackey, too. Remember Trey Kaufman-Wren kind of had the shot put 12-footer to beat them?
Yep.
I think that was last year. So, 4.5. So Vegas, which to me seems very fair. I'll continue to stress, how each team is going to guard each other from a power forward standpoint. Because Indiana, we saw the wrinkle on Friday. They put Nick Dorn, the transfer from Elon, battled some injuries, into the starting lineup. And Nick Dorn is a flat-out shooter. Mm-hmm. I mean, stone-cold shooter. That now is, hey, if you're going to go whatever, we've seen teams do it, triangle and 2 or whatever on Tucker DeVries and Lamar Wilkerson, now we're going to put another capable shooter out there. So, how Purdue counters, and, of course, how Indiana guards Purdue. The big question for Indiana here in the Big Ten is, can you hang with legit size?
Right.
Purdue's got that. I'm
really to offset some of that, too. You got to be able to offset some of that size with the shooting.
Do you guys think Rake will be good with me going Peacock stream riding shotgun? You think we'll go radio on top of it?
Or is he going to let you connect the Bluetooth so you can have the Peacock sound?
I think knowing Rake, he'll want to go, let's go Rob Blackman first half, Northern Indiana.
Yeah.
And then once we hit, Kokomo, then we'll switch over to Fish for the second half.
Yeah.
Fair and balanced.
As a sportscaster himself, he's got to respect the greats.
Yeah. And I'll just provide visual if he needs it. He's got to be 10-2 on the roadways. Greg Rakestraw and I, our annual trip, it's my favorite day of the year. Outside of Christmas, some of my kids' births.
I was about to say, you better add on a few amendments there.
My wedding anniversary.
I'll say, again, Matt, if you want to black his eyes.
At a PGA Tour.
Tiger Woods.
Tiger won the Masters on April 14th. We got engaged on April 14th. Well, 1 year apart. You could make an argument which April 14th mattered more.
I was going to ask. Your stunned silence tells me a lot.
Well, I'm just trying to clear my throat here. Our throats are kind of hanging on by a thread here on this Tuesday morning.
Yeah, we're struggling, boys. I'm sorry if I sound a little different, but we made it in.
Was it a Luther Vandross? Did I see that in the YouTube?
Yeah, I don't know about Luther Vandross. I don't know if I could sing that good.
I do love a One Shining Moment.
Hey.
By the way, I've seen the college football One Shining Moments montage, and I've enjoyed those.
Oh, is that a thing?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah.
You had to be in that a lot.
Yeah, IU was definitely featured very prominently. We'll get some of that Omar Cooper sound here in a little bit. James, I'm always nervous when the college football, whatever transfer portal dies down. I'm like, is it safe to now look ahead to next year, or is it not? Can guys still declare, come back? But I think we're at this point. So for Indiana, they will lose the following. And these are just notable guys I jotted down. obviously, Fernando Mendoza, Kalen Black, and Roman Hemby in the backfield. Omar Cooper Jr., Riley Norakowski, the big tight end, 37. Defensively, not as much. Well, I should say in quantity.
Elijah Surratt as well, right?
Yes, Elijah Surratt. Thank you. Mikael Kamara, Aiden Fisher, D'Angelo Pons, Lewis Moore. So, when you start to make a list of the top, 10 IU players from last year, there's a lot. Now, you bring back Charlie Becker. You bring back, I think, 3 starting offensive linemen, maybe 4. And several of those guys have started a couple years. Defensive tackles, Tyreek Tucker, Mario Landino. I think both those guys are pretty effective, even though they might not get the fanfare. Isaiah Jones at linebacker. Jamari Sharp, who we saw, of course, make the game-sealing interception back there. Amari Farrell as well. So, when you start to make a list, boy, it's a lot.
Yeah, and what's so unique about this IU team is that, unlike in years past, you listed off all those guys, and I'm like, man, these guys are going to be playing on Sundays. And I don't know how many times we could look at an IU roster in recent years and say they have 10 definite draft picks. And about half of those guys, I would argue, Kevin, that you named, might be day 1 and day 2 picks, those first 3 rounds. So from that perspective, I think it's going to be very hard to replace that level of talent. I don't doubt that Kurt Cignetti will reload, but I also don't want to act like it's so easy to replace NFL talent. Because when you have NFL talent in college, I think that changes a lot of what you're able to do because you got guys that are just better. I mean, Omar Cooper Jr., how many times did we look at a play that he made, Kevin, and say, oh, he's just better than the other guy?
Exactly, yeah. And you know what? We talk so much about the play in the end zone against Penn State. They were backed up 2nd and 17 on that drive, and he gets it started.
Yep.
And a lot of it, to your point, was just there was a 1st and 20 in the national title last Monday where you just throw him a simple crosser, and his athleticism, makes the play off of that. The D'Angelo Pons loss, I think Pons and maybe the pick 6 against Oregon helped in this cause, but I think fans fully, if we're going to really be technical here, you can make the case Pons is better, more important to the team than Fernando Mendoza. Brian Haynes literally was like, I don't have to worry about one half of the field with him. I mean, that's a high. I mean, you think about college corners, there's so much volatility watching college cornerbacks. Hell, there's a ton watching NFL cornerbacks.
I was going to say, a couple of them wish they had some plays back in recent weeks in these playoffs.
And so, him leaving, and again, he technically had another year of eligibility. I think that might be, if you want to say the TCU quarterbacks can come in and play at a high level, or Kurt Cignetti quarterbacks just often do, losing Pons. And, I go back to the Iowa game. He didn't play in that Iowa game. That's a game Indiana easily could have lost.
Yeah.
Without him, in the lineup there. I don't know if it's hot takey. I guess anything's hot in this weather right now compared to what it is outside. But can I go here one more as we look back on last week's game? The most important play in that game was a block punt, not the 4th and 5 Mendoza.
Oh,
scramble.
Unquestionable.
Okay.
The most memorable play, I think, is the run because...
So it's not very hot takey?
No, I don't think so. You don't win that. I don't think you're in a position to even have that 4th and 5 opportunity to basically not seal the win, but give yourself a very good chance of winning if that block punt doesn't happen.
Yeah, I was looking back on that the other day, and I believe to that point, I don't think Mendoza had completed a pass in the second half. And the IU, I think it was 17-14 score. And the IU offense was just kind of stuck in one of those muddy situations we're not used to.
Yeah.
Miami's pass rush started to go. Remember, on that opening drive of the second half, Miami had 2 sacks. The drive was kept alive by the face mask.
Right.
So, that Miami defense, I think, was starting to assert itself a little bit more there. And just the nature of the block punt, too. It's not like you were trying to sell out and block the punt. Again, you had your defense out there thinking it was a 4th and 1, and they might still go for it there. Malachi Tony had just been tackled short of the sticks. Yeah, memorable. You're right, James. Definitely the Mendoza play. And honestly, the call to go for it. That was not, I think, an automatic go situation there, and just the effort involved on it. But to me, the bigger magnitude play, you didn't win the game there, but obviously it helped you. I think it was that block punt.
And it's funny to look back at that play and really a couple of different plays throughout that college football playoff, really the season that defined the season. Because the thing about, and I was reading about this, Kevin, and I don't know how many IU fans feel like this, but is there any sense of like a what now feeling? Because pretty much, I would say maybe from like the Illinois game on, every single moment after that was like the biggest game for IU, or that's the biggest moment, or that's the biggest play. And now that you're atop the mountain, yes, you want to do it again, but I don't know if you'll ever be able to experience it in this way again. Because what else? I mean, you slayed every dragon. And you did it in so many different ways. You had the iconic throws, you had the iconic catches, you had the iconic, like you said, blocked punt. You got the run from Mendoza, which will be in every Disney movie from here on out. What else is there left to do? I feel like this is kind of like the Will Smith moment in Fresh Prince when he like moves out of the mansion and he looks around the room. There's nothing in there. It's like, well, what else do I have to do now? I'm on this mountaintop by myself, which is a good feeling, but it's unique to me because I wonder how many IU fans are like, man, I'm so glad I got to experience this, but there's a part of me, it's kind of like watching your favorite show for the first time, and it's like I can watch it again, but I can't experience it in the same way again.
Well, don't they say there's nothing like your first?
Yeah. I mean, it's a good problem to have, don't get me wrong, but
I think
it's unique.
New aspect to next year will be this, James. They will get and nothing against your Fighting Illini, but against your Fighting Illini, they're about to get the major marquee home game finally with Ohio State coming there.
Yeah, for sure.
Like they're going to get, I assume.
And that's what I mean, because before that was the marquee game, Illinois, Indiana, but in fairness,
year one, what do you go with? Maybe Washington or Michigan late in the year, and that wasn't the same
But that
Michigan
doesn't hold
team,
a candle to what you're talking about.
Right. So that will be, and that's, one thing, if I can commend college football on anything right now, I love that the playoffs stay into 12 teams. And this is coming from someone that my team would have benefited from 16, obviously.
Yeah.
But I want the regular season to mean something. To me, I love the 12-team format, sticking with it for another year. I'm not holding my breath. It sounds like the Big Ten wants it to go to 24 at some point, which I think is just a joke. But I like that we're staying at 12. One thing I do hate about next year, I guess two things I want to change with the college football playoff. I like we're keeping it at 12, but two things I want to change.
Okay.
Guys, the national championship game next year.
Oh, don't get me started.
January 25th.
Yeah.
January 25th. What are we doing? That is
January 25th.
2 months after your regular season ends.
Yeah. And this year was 2 days ago. Could you imagine if the national championship game was played 2 days ago?
We need to bump everything up schedule-wise. We get in those doldrums of week 1, 2, 3 of December where there's nothing there. We need to bump things up college football playoff-wise. That's one. And then two, again, I like 12 teams. I'm good with the 5 versus 12 format on opening weekend. The quarterfinal games need to be on campus. The fan bases of Indiana, the fan bases of Ohio State, the fan bases of Georgia and Texas Tech, they all deserved a home game. To me, 1, 2, 3, and 4 seed get a home game. I get that for some reason, the Bulls just run so much of the college football system. And I get that, Indiana playing at the Rose Bowl is really cool for so many people. I think it'd be a lot cooler if you got 60,000 in there. People that actually go to the games on a week in, week out basis.
Yeah.
I guess you could insert your IU joke here, but nonetheless, give us the home games in the quarterfinal round. And then you can go neutral. You can then you can rotate. Semifinals and finals, you can rotate among the Bulls.
So my question for you two is, how big is too big when it comes to the college football playoff expansion?
I don't
because
even want
I feel
16.
like I think 12 is a sweet spot for me because at some point I do think about attrition and injury. So if you keep expanding the playoff and you keep adding weeks to the postseason, I mean, are we really going to have a 17-win team?
Look,
or is that even how it will work? I'm not sure.
If we go to 16, and sure as hell if we go to 24, James, we're getting 8-4 teams in the playoff. We're going to get SEC teams at 7-5.
Oh, boy.
Clamoring for a
And
playoff
I can already
spot.
hear that conversation giving me a headache.
Right? I mean, am I wrong?
You're not wrong, but that's why I'm like, and I get it. Money rules the world. Greed is everything. So we'll probably go to 16 teams. But
think about 8-4.
At what point is 12? 12 to me is a sweet spot.
So if you go 8-4 and you have a 3-game non-conference, assume your 3 non-conference games are pasties.
Okay.
Okay, so you're 3-0. Now you go into your Big Ten slate. Let's just use that. And if you go 5-4 in the Big Ten, you feel like you've done enough. 5-4.
That's crazy.
Like, to me, the regular season has got to matter at some level.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's where I think 12 is. I mean, this year, who do we debate? We debated 10-2 Notre Dame, 10-2 Miami, and 9-3 Alabama?
Yeah.
That's where the debate came back to. And that, to me, is a fine, healthy debate to round it out. I don't need. I mean, can you imagine if we did 24? Guys, they'd be crowning a national champion on St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah. At that point, I'm just wondering again, what are we actually doing to make the sport better versus make the sport more money? Which, I mean, one and the same, right?
Just segue from the national championship and in the first round of the March Madness tournament at that point.
Sure. Hell, you might as well have the NFL draft the next day.
I was going to say, like, the NFL playoffs, by the way, will still be going on. So
do it like the WNBA, Mark. The Final Four ends and boom, Caitlin Clark gets drafted the next day.
By the way, next year's Super Bowl takes place on Valentine's Day, so get out ahead of yourselves, fellas, and have that conversation already.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Sunday, February 14th.
Well, when the Colts are in it, love will be in the air. I had totally forgotten that the Colts interviewed Mike Vrabel for their head coaching job in 2018. James, that was well before you were on the beat, right?
Yes, 2018, I was graduating college, trying to get a job in this industry.
So 2018, the Colts hired Josh McDaniels, right, for 6 hours.
Which, by the way, you have covered some wild things, my friend. I forgot that even happened.
Yeah, and I'll never forget.
Left you at the altar, Lord.
I'll never forget being at a Pacer game. This is back when I covered the Pacers. I covered the Pacers for about a year or so. And it was announced that they had interviewed Matt Rule. And that was back when Matt Rule was at Baylor. So if I remember correctly, and somebody can fill me in on this, Mark, we need to have Zach Kiefer on at some point this week because I know he's got a lot right now on his plate. I guess I'll let Zach share that. But he, I believe, would recall this pretty well. I want to say Matt Nagy. Does that sound right, Mark? 2018 would have been your boy Matt Nagy. And then Vrabel, McDaniels, and Matt Rule. I think those were the main four. And they, of course, hired McDaniels. And then Vrabel ended up and this was still when Vrabel. This is what I think makes coaching searches such a crapshoot, James. Vrabel at that point, I think, was only a 1-year defensive coordinator in Houston.
Yeah.
And they were awful on defense in that 1 year. And yet, Tennessee hired him that cycle. So a few weeks after the Colts interviewed him, Tennessee hired him. And that was after Tennessee had won a road playoff game. Think about that. You fire, and again, I guess Sean McDermott falls into this category, but you fire your coach, Mike Mularkey is who it was at the time. They go to Arrowhead. They beat Kansas City, win a road playoff game. They fire him, and they hire Mike Vrabel, a man with 1 year of coordinating experience. And yet, Vrabel turns out to be a hell of a hire. Now, again, why they fired him is beyond me, but it is wild when I look back at the 2018 search and then what happened after McDaniels. Vrabel was a part of one of the four. And then remember, when McDaniels leaves him at the altar, they ended up with 3 candidates after that. Frank Reich, Leslie Frazier, and Dan Campbell. So whether it's Dan Campbell, whether it's Mike Vrabel, you want to talk about a different culture than what we've seen over there on West 56th Street for the last 7 years or so?
You make very good points, my friend. Very good points. Even looking at where they were a few years ago, I had to look this up because of the Phillip Rivers interview with the Bills, and you all know how I feel about that. Waste of time. But anyways, I had to go back and remember that the Colts actually gave Jeff Saturday a legitimate interview for the permanent head coaching job. Ultimately hired Shane Steichen, who I will say, as much as I have criticized the operation over on West 56th Street, I think that Shane, to a degree, has kind of been looked at as underrated, at least in my opinion. I have criticized his leader of men style, which I don't know if that's, more of a cliche than anything. But there's times where I feel like being the front-facing guy for the job, he hasn't always stepped up to the plate as he should. But looking at what he's done with every season of his tenure being with multiple quarterbacks due to injury, I think that he's in a better standing league-wide than the GM above him being Chris Ballard.
Yeah, again, if we were handing out individual letter grades to Ballard and Steichen, they would not be the same. Steichen would certainly have a better grade than Ballard.
Right.
But James, I really struggle with 7-22 against teams above 500. And I really struggle with 2-10 against the Jaguars and the Texans. I hear you out.
Yep.
And I don't, I kind of where I settled at the end of last season and probably at the end of this season was I think Ballard definitely deserves to go. I don't have the same conviction on Steichen. The only reason I would have that conviction is because I think GMs and head coaches should be tied to the hip.
Right. Okay.
Which again is kind of, to me, it's a little it's part of the business, yes. But if we're going to individually evaluate it, it's kind of funny. I just posted on our website. I do this every year. I evaluate the GM and the head coach, 2 separate articles, just to kind of lay it out of like, okay, yes, I think they should be tied at the hip. That's how I would, operate in the NFL. But I also think their jobs are different,
right,
in many, many ways here. So I actually just posted the Ballard one today. Wins and losses, kind of looking at some of that stuff. By the way, I started scrolling through mock drafts, and we'll get to a Mark Dykton I got to know here coming up in the 8 o'clock hour. I looked at Daniel Jeremiah's mock draft yesterday. A couple things stood out. The Chiefs at number 9 took Reuben Bain.
I did see that in his mock draft.
I'm like, it hit me as I started scrolling. I'm like, wait a minute. You're telling me that Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, and Lamar Jackson are all about to get top 15 picks? I mean, I'm not saying all 3 are obviously going to hit right away, but damn.
The mock draft I saw had the Chiefs taking Jeremiah Love.
That he went Saints in Jeremiah. Well, speaking of Jeremiah, and Daniel Jeremiah's. So I think he went one higher. But yeah, Mark, I have seen that as well.
Interesting.
I mean, think about that. Mahomes at 9, Burrow at 10, Lamar Jackson at 14.
Question though, how much fear does the Bengals put in people these days?
I know, but
they haven't been to the playoffs in a couple years now, and their defense is always atrocious.
Yeah, again, I'm not saying like all 3 of those are going to, hit, and, I want to be very clear on that. But, again, as much as people in the Colts bubble might say, hey, we just got to be healthy for the second half of the season. There's some other teams out there that are saying that exact thing, and they have first-round picks.
Literally the Bengals.
And they have first-round pick, available to them. By the way, I saw Dylan Thieneman, the Westfield safety, transfer from Purdue to Oregon. Daniel Jeremiah had him go and mark to your Bears at 25. I didn't know. I mean, I knew Dylan Thieneman was an NFL draft prospect. I didn't know what he was talking about on day 1.
Interesting.
You guys need a safety?
Potentially. Kevin Byard, they hope to bring back, but he's a free agent and probably will get some money. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, also a free agent. And Jaquan Brisker is also. So they could bring a couple guys back, or they could have some needs there.
It's like, can I interest you in Nick Cross?
No. We'd like to. Actually, I think the Bears would like to do a return to sender on Dio Adengbo if we're talking about returns from Colts players.
Yeah, he got hurt, didn't he?
Yeah.
Did he tear his Achilles?
Uh-huh.
Again?
Yeah.
Same one?
I think it's the other one.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
That's horrific.
He was not doing anything
right, I remember
before the paycheck.
That was kind of like midway through the season there. Okay, 8 o'clock hour, we'll get to, first off, Rob Blackman going to join us 8:30. We'll continue to talk IU and Purdue from down there in Bloomington. I do want to get to that Dane Brugler sound. He was kind of on this early with the Omar Cooper Jr. before playoff run, before Penn State. Where could the Ellen product go when it comes to the draft, as he officially declared yesterday? Mark Dykton, you used the word immaculate to describe your I-65 commute in this morning. Is that correct?
Yes. From what I was expecting to what I received, I would say it was immaculate, because I was expecting unable to see any lines or anything like that. No. You could see road markings. You can make out lanes. I would say probably 2.5 lanes out of the 3 were actively well done.
I'll say this. I am used to like day 2 post snowstorm, the commute being a breeze.
Yeah.
Like in recent years. It's like, okay, day 1, you're kind of, all right, a little unsure about it. What's it going to look like? Add whatever, 10 minutes to my morning commute in. Today, I would only say it was like slightly better.
Yeah.
I don't think it was like overwhelmingly better. Again, my lanes, and I'm less highway. I'm still more city streets than Mark. I would say the lanes are still, if you're used to the 2-lane road, you ain't getting it. You're getting a nice 1 and maybe 1.5.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the intersections, it looks a little Scott McLaughlin lap 1 of the Indy 500. It's a little spinny for some people out there. So FYI on that. And I guess I see why we are still largely e-learning.
Yeah.
Across.
And all these weather advisories and stuff like that.
Right.
Take your time, people.
Are we essential?
Yes. To our P1 listeners, yes.
Apparently.
I mean, that's like the biggest compliment we've ever gotten.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt during the COVID times where my mom works in insurance, my sister works at a bank, and I was a sports reporter, and I was considered essential with them. That was pretty funny. My dad was like working at a water pump company, so like he needs to go to work. People can have like the ability to flush a toilet during a storm or something. And here's James like, oh yeah, I got to carry my notepad into this big high school game. Sorry
you see
about that.
doctors and nurses at the stoplight, you give them a little head nod like, me too, brother.
Yep.
Me too, sister.
Meanwhile, all I have in my trunk is like a
We are the
basketball and a
same.
referee
James
jersey.
holds up his recorder, AAA batteries in his left
His hat
hand.
that says press on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Boy,
Yeah.
those were the days.
What's our boy Rob Lowe? Didn't he have the NFL hat on?
I got a real scoop for you.
Yeah, James has got press hat on. All right, 8 o'clock hour coming up again. Rob Blackman going to join us at 8:30. More on the Omar Cooper Jr. declaration of the draft. More on the big one tonight in Bloomington. And we'll tap into Mark Dykton's I Gotta Know.
The rivalry is back on.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Mark just spilled scalding hot tea on my right hand.
Oh, boy. I was like, where'd they go? They disappeared. This is a short break. I was like, I'm going to have to take producing and on-air hosting for a minute.
Oh, yeah. Just right. I mean, I can just see it just reddening up right now.
That is, you're on the struggle bus this morning.
Yeah, we are fighting. We're scratching and clawing to 10 o'clock here.
It took me a while to blow my nose.
Did you hear me, James? I said I just spilled hot tea all over my right hand.
Oh, Lord. Gosh. I didn't do that.
Oh, I won't be typing for the next break or two. Shout out to Kenny. If I was sitting in this traffic on 465 without the fan, I'd be cussing. You guys are essential. Look at that.
Boom.
Look at that.
Respect. Appreciate
Thank you,
that.
Kenny.
I'm updating the LinkedIn right now like I'm Fernando Mendoza.
Slide that over to the government if they question why we're in here on this Tuesday morning. Safe travels, everybody out there. Again, a little bit better, but I wouldn't say overwhelmingly better on the morning commute here.
Do you think we would actually get questioned? Like, because we get up pretty early. You think have you ever had that experience where like, hey, wait a second, you look like you ain't really doing no real work here?
I have not. You know, I'd like to think there are bigger problems to maybe tend to out there on the streets.
I wouldn't even know what my response would be. Be like, yeah, you know, I got this radio thing I got to do, and it, you know, it seems to be kind of important, but yeah.
Wouldn't that be great if you got the cop that's like, oh yeah, I listen to you guys every morning.
Yeah,
Thank you so
great.
much.
That would be pretty great.
Again, we'll continue to preview. Tonight it is in Bloomington, Indiana, and Purdue. Rick Carlisle, 9:30 this morning. So Pacers back from their 5-game road trip. They got the little snow day game yesterday. Tale of two halves. Good to see Benedict Mathurin back, and now we'll continue to monitor trade deadline coming up a week from Thursday here. The Pacers make trades when you were on the beat. Was it the Halliburton?
Yeah, it was the Halliburton trade. I remember being in Atlanta and going to shoot around, and Domantas Sabonis was a part of the team.
Was that the day of the deadline?
I can't remember, but I do believe it was in February, so it wasn't still January. And it was very close to the deadline. And yeah, that changed everything. It was crazy because they made the trade, and they ended up only having like maybe 8 players available for the game. And I remember going to that game, and it's probably the one time in my career covering a basketball game where the game was as meaningless as it was.
It wasn't Justin Holiday in that trade, if I remember correctly.
Because like no one cared about the outcome of the game. Every question after the game was about Halliburton. Even before the game, we couldn't get Rick Carlisle to talk about it because the trade wasn't official yet. And then when it became official after the game, that was the story angle. But yeah, if looking back at it, that was, I believe, early 2022.
It was the day before the deadline.
Yeah. So that changed the trajectory of the franchise, and obviously you got a finals run out of it.
I got into a little bit of a rabbit hole yesterday. I think we all sit here and say the Pacers need a center, right?
Yes, for sure.
I've often said this. I feel like finding a center is a little bit like finding a running back in the NFL.
Okay.
Like if you start scrolling through the league's leading rushers, you don't necessarily see 8th overall pick, 15th overall pick, 22nd overall. You know, Jonathan Taylor, arguably the best running back in the league, was a second-round pick.
Right.
And like towards the middle of the second round. And center, yes, you have Wembanyama. You have Karl Anthony Towns. But I went through yesterday and just did the top 15 centers in the league. And if you look at where they were drafted, I only counted 4 of the 15 in the lottery. And a lot of them middle round 1, several even in the second round. Jokic, of course, is the poster child of it, and that's a dream. But, like, you know who's one of the better centers right now in the league? And when I say better, I'd say top 15, is Khalil Ware. As crazy as that sounds to some people.
Yeah, he is.
And he was,
if the Pacers had him right now, they'd be cooking with some gas.
And he was like 15th overall. So if you look at it, again, you have your Karl Anthony Towns. You have your Wembanyama. You know, Alex Sarr, the second pick last year, has had a really nice
Anthony
start
Davis when he's healthy
to his NBA
that.
career. Right, Anthony Davis. I don't think he fell into the category because he's not healthy right now. But, like, James, when you look at it, it's a lot there in the middle to late, even the early parts of the second round. Now, I don't know what to do with that evidence, to be honest with you, because I think we sit here and we're like, well, if you have the wings if you look at the draft coming up, the top 5 picks look to be in the 2, 3, 4 range in terms of their positions
right now. But go ahead.
Yeah, amen to that. They look to be, shout out to Cluster Truck, I believe. Believe they will be making a stop here on this Tuesday morning. I believe Cluster Truck's open. A big fan.
Shout out Evan Sherrill, best smelling man in Indiana.
I am a big fan, and that is also the promo code, #big fan there for $5 off your order. If you look at center right now, it makes some sense to say, well, go get the center by trading a wing and then replenish the wing come June when the draft rolls around and you have a top 5 pick. But I guess centers just seem like a dime a dozen, man. I mean, hell, look at the Pacers right now. You could make the case the Pacers are playing some of their better basketball of the year. I know it sounds weird to say, but if you look at it, they've had leads like in the second halves and fourth quarters of all these games that they're still losing. And yet they're doing it like without a center. Did you notice the starting lineup yesterday? Walker and Furphy joining Pascal Siakam in the front court. Like, we are long gone debating Isaiah Jackson and Jay Huff. So part of me is like, well, Kevin, that means that their center position sucks that bad. It also means, do you really need one for 82 nights out of the year? Didn't we get to sometimes in the playoffs, James, where Obi Toppin as the small ball 5 was their best lineup?
Yeah. I think it's an interesting problem for the Pacers because you don't have the Tyrese Halliburton effect out there right now. Because I do think he has the ability to make some of these lineups work because of the way he plays. And he has the ability to enhance and elevate other centers because of the way he plays and being unselfish. If you're a rim running big, he'll get you a couple layups and dunks. So, how much do you believe your center position is predicated on you having a dynamic point guard, one of the best point guards, if not the best, pure point guard in the NBA when he's healthy? So, moving forward, I'm very curious to see how they kind of build this roster out because Halliburton affects everybody. And that's honestly was on a different tangent. I think that's what people kind of overlook when it comes to the way the Pacers play. It's like, oh, man, the Pacers made it to the finals. Other teams can do this too and play unselfish and run and gun. Like, nah, not when you don't have that player at the center of it. So does he offset maybe some of your quote-unquote need for a certain type of big man? I think that's why Miles Turner works so well with them because all he had to do was block shots, run the floor,
shoot
and
open threes,
make a couple threes, which he still has a very unique skill set as it is. I mean, I don't want to act like that's every center around, but if you can find somebody kind of like that, do they look different with Halliburton?
Speaking of the draft, we saw in Bloomington yesterday the news Omar Cooper Jr. officially declaring for the NFL draft. So he joins the likes of D'Angelo Pons and Elijah Surratt and Mikael Kamara and Aiden Fisher, Fernando Mendoza, of course. Many of these Hoosiers draft bound. We had Dane Brugler on. Mark, this was during the Colts bye week, right?
Yes, back in November.
So I believe this was just before the Penn State game. And Dane Brugler, NFL draft analyst for The Athletic, touched on the draft status then. Again, pre-playoff, pre-Penn State, not only for Omar Cooper Jr., but also Elijah Surratt.
Omar Cooper Jr. has been a lot of fun to watch because the ball skills are outstanding, and then his run after catch ability really stands out. So you want to line him up in the slot, line him up outside. He's a player that I think has put himself in the top 100 conversation. And then Elijah Surratt, I mean, he came in to this season as a 4th or 5th round pick. That's where the grades were from NFL teams. And he's only helped himself, 6'2", 210 pounds, probably going to run the 4.4 somewhere. He's so good with the chemistry with Mendoza on those back shoulder throws. The ball skills are there. He is more explosive than you think. Like he kind of looks like a possession receiver, but he has got more explosion than I think you expect going into the tape. And so he definitely has a basketball background, but he is an NFL athlete as well. And so love the story with him, kind of not a type of guy you want to bet against. And so I think those types of players just gravitate towards Coach Cignetti, and you really see that play out on game day. And so I'm selfishly hoping to see Ohio State get over the hump against Michigan, just so we make sure we get that Indiana-Ohio State matchup in the Big Ten championship game, just to see how these two teams will match up. Seeing Mendoza and these receivers up against a defense the caliber of Ohio State, and then a really good Indiana defense to see how they can hold up against a really explosive offense. Aiden Fisher, what he's done at linebacker, Mikael Kamara, the defensive end for the Hoosiers. These guys are all draft picks, and so I think it's been 50 years since Indiana has had more than 4 draft picks in a single year. But I think the way that the season is going, that's going to happen this year, or it's going to happen in April.
Yeah, it certainly is. Again, that was Dane Brugler back with us in mid-November. Just to put a little context around it, top 100 pick, which he labeled for Cooper, would be top 3 round. I would argue he has only improved his stock since then. Again, you had the Penn State game. He obviously made some plays during that playoff run. So less than a month away from the NFL Combine here in town, and it will be a lot of IU flavor with that. All right, so Rob Blackman, 8:30. John Herrick talking IU Purdue coming up tonight, 9 o'clock. Rick Carlisle, 9:30. But let's get into the brain of Mark Dykton.
He's got questions.
How about a game?
They've got answers.
Hey, I'm more of a cornhole man myself.
Sports, music, movies.
What?
High fashion.
That Hansel's so hot right now.
And everything in between.
You ever seen a foot with 4 toes?
It's time to get a glimpse into the mind of Mark Dykton.
Stop it, you're scaring me.
It's time for I Gotta Know.
Okay, you 2 punks, I want a good, clean fight. Let's get it on.
All right, boys, we're talking NFL, so let's stay with the NFL. We've talked about the to-do list for Chris Ballard and company for the Colts and what positions they need to address in the offseason. What position or positions do you feel need the least upgrades? You head into 2026, you're like, I feel comfortable at this position.
Kicker.
And that's a real response, too. You got 2 guys there that can...
That's a good answer.
I'm really serious. I promise I won't cop out and just say kicker, but, seriously, right? I guess you hope Spencer Schrader returns to full health, but Blake Grupe looked really good. And I believe Blake Grupe's one of those exclusive rights free agents, James, which means the Colts just throw an offer at him and he has to come back.
A little kicking competition?
Sure. Why not?
I'll go
one
running
last
back.
one at Westfield.
I'll go running back.
Running back.
Not too worried about Jonathan Taylor.
Good. What if I said offensive line? Too many flowers there?
I don't know.
The Braden Smith free agency, obviously,
Yeah.
is something to acknowledge. I don't know. I'm not as down. I've gotten some questions like, hey, offensive line lately. And I get Jonathan Taylor's rushing numbers were poor. But I mean, defensively, I could talk myself into every level. I guess wide receiver? Assuming you bring back Pierce, but
I was going to say that.
That's assuming, though.
I'm like, okay, assume you bring him back, but then if Pittman's gone.
Right.
I get that he wasn't
I know, but it would
playing
still
at the
be a
level of
need.
his salary, but he's a reliable player.
Yeah, I'll go kicker, and then I don't know, offensive line.
I'll go running back and quarterback, mainly because they pigeonholed themselves into the quarterback position.
Yeah, but then again, my quarterback's come off with torn Achilles.
Hey.
I'm going to stick with my kicker, which I don't know what that means for the state of your franchise, but I'm pretty serious with that answer.
Get Blake Grupe on the side of the Lucas Oil Stadium.
Build the statue. Groupie.
Might be. All right, AFC Championship game was marred by bad weather in Denver. Some love it, some hate it. Where do you stand on bad weather games in such monumental moments?
I think it is overrated. The people who love football weather don't always include the fact that football weather includes good weather as well. Super Bowl's played almost every year in a great environment because they know they don't want the game to be decided by the elements. So I am not a fan of football weather.
Yeah.
I'm also pretty soft. I will wear a Snuggie at, training camp if it got a little cold out there.
I love some elements.
Jake Query sliding in the seat all of a sudden.
I love some elements. I will say maybe the fourth quarter got a little bit too elementy for me on Sunday in Denver. I think back to Colts Bills in 2017, Jack Doyle rumbling through the snow, Adam Vinatieri making, I think what he said was the toughest kick of his life, that extra point to force the game into overtime there. That's maybe a hair too much, but guys, in 10 years, every game's going to be in a dome. Won't we be bitching and moaning about that?
I will not be. Not me, but the masses probably will.
All right, Shedeur Sanders was named to the Pro Bowl yesterday. He will replace Drake May as he heads to the Super Bowl. May, Justin Herbert, and Josh Allen were the original selections, while Patrick Mahomes, Daniel Jones, Bo Nix are all out due to injuries, and Trevor Lawrence opted out. So Sanders had 7 touchdowns and 10 interceptions Is it time to eliminate the Pro Bowl selection as a noteworthy achievement?
Trevor Lawrence doing a little Notre Dame thing there, opting out. Yeah, didn't want any Pop-Tarts with this Pop-Tart bowl here on this Tuesday morning. I think there's no bigger joke than the Pro Bowl nod as the 8th alternate. That's why I think All-Pro means more, James.
I agree.
Yeah, I feel the same way about the NBA. Like, All-NBA matters more than an All-Star nod, but
because
it's just terrible.
Because basically what it is does your position have injuries and opt-outs?
Yeah.
Like, Mark, you just listed, 8 names before we got to Sanders?
Yeah, Sanders wasn't even an alternate, so he was an alternate.
Some positions you don't have injuries. Let's just take defensive tackle, for example. And let's say DeForest Buckner is the first alternate. The only way DeForest Buckner becomes a Pro Bowler is if the guys above him are hurt. So he's at the mercy of them getting hurt in order for him to get the honor. Whereas, remember the year Gardner Minshew and Snoop Huntley were Pro Bowl quarterbacks? Mm-hmm. They get the honor because the names that Mark just listed, they all opt out. Like that to me isn't a true reflection of you earning it. If that makes sense.
Well, I'll just throw my wrist up a la Shedeur Sanders because all of you guys are haters. But no, I tend to agree. I don't know how you can even justify going. I don't blame him for accepting it. It's like a free trip to Disney World or Disneyland or one of those places.
Yeah, Disney World.
So,
or actually now, aren't we out at the Super Bowl? I think we've moved the Pro Bowl to the Super Bowl, right?
Who knows anymore?
I don't know.
I think it's
but
Thursday night of Super Bowl week.
I believe it's a free vacation if you go.
Skills competition.
So, free vacation. I don't blame him for taking it. But I also want to get outraged because of Shedeur Sanders. They've allowed plenty of people who were never deserving to go. So, he's just the latest one.
I kind of rank All-Pro as that award that James got a few weeks ago. Very deserving and a great honor. And then Pro Bowl is kind of like when Jeff says to us at 10:01, hey, I thought you guys did a nice job today.
Nice pat on the back.
Right?
Our fearless leader couldn't make it in today.
Garage door issue.
I have questions about that.
All right, last one real quick. The WWE's marquee event on the calendar year, the first of the year, is Saturday in the Royal Rumble. It's the first time it'll take place outside the United States for the first time in Saudi Arabia, so that's problematic right out of the gate. But the thing I can't wrap my head around is they built a 25,000-seat stadium for this event in 20 days. It was a literal dirt field on January 5th, and now it's a stadium. Would you want to be in the test audience for an arena that was built in that amount of time?
No. I'd rather be in the ring with Uso. Or Speed. Did I say those names right, Mark?
I mean, honest to God, look at these pictures. I mean, it was a dirt field, and now it's a full stadium 20 days later. I don't know how much I trust that structure, though.
I'm currently Googling this.
It's insane.
Boy,
It'll
I'm
blow
looking
your
at
mind.
this as well. This is crazy. I'm going to pass because I feel like this is a glorified version of
Why did
the
they
State
wait
Fair.
so long, Mark?
I don't know. I think they're building stadiums because they're supposed to get the World Cup in 2034. But why they took so long, I have no idea because they knew about this event at least a year out. So I don't know what the holdup was.
Nah, I'll pass. Like I said, this is glorified State Fair work. I don't get on the rides at the State Fair. You want anything you can just kind of put up in a matter of days. I'm not getting on it.
Give me the good old-fashioned stadiums that take 5 years to build.
Yeah.
Yeah. Northwest Indiana's not coming up with a stadium in 30 days to make it the Gary Bears.
No.
I was going to say, if they want to get things moving and make sure they secure that Bears location, they might.
If you haven't seen the pictures, you should look. It is mind-boggling.
Rob Blackman in 10. Mark Dykton, thank you for that. I got to know. Let's check it down.
The Morning Checkdown, brought to you by the Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships. March starts here. The Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships with NCAA tournament bids on the line. March 8th through 10th. Tickets and more at horizonleague.com/Indy.
All right, we'll get to the college hoops game of the night here in just a second. But James Boyd, we got matinee snow day basketball yesterday. Pacers were great in the first half and horrific in the second half, particularly late third quarter. It ended up being a 31-point differential, 15-point halftime, or I think it was 16-point halftime lead. Lose by 15. Benedict Mathurin did make his return. He had 16 in the first half, looked like peak Mathurin. Didn't score, though, in the second half. That is a 1-4 road trip for the Indiana Pacers.
Yeah, it was good to see Mathurin back out there, and I just wonder, will he still be a Pacer after next week's trade deadline.
A little bit of a wrap on that right thumb. Again, he came out and was, everything. Pull up three in a dude's face, tough take, slot cut with TJ McConnell for a bucket there, got to the foul line. He did all of it there, and then he was a part of the issues there in the second half as that lead got away in a hurry from the Pacers late third quarter, early fourth. They bumped that up because of weather. Rick Carlisle will join us here coming up at 9:30. Again, tonight in Bloomington, it is match number 1 of the rivalry of Indiana and Purdue. 4.5-point underdog at home, the Indiana Hoosiers. James, just a massive one. Obviously, for Indiana, it is absolutely massive for the resume. They have yet to beat an NCAA tournament team. I think they're 0-7 in quad one games this season, I believe, or 0-6, something like that. And then for Purdue, I'd say it probably falls a little bit more in just your psyche category. And if you want the goal of winning the Big Ten, overcoming a 3-game losing streak within the conference is probably too steep of a mountain to climb.
Yeah, for sure. With the way Illinois is playing, Nebraska's playing, you can't afford to keep losing ground. So can they bounce back? And then, as I told you all earlier throughout the show, can Trey Kaufman-Renn, I think, get back to playing at an All-American level?
4 scholarship players for Purdue hail from the state of Indiana. Obviously, their big 3, Braden Smith, Fletcher Lawyer, Trey Kaufman-Renn, Jack Benter. Shout out to him from, I guess, a little bit down there in the southern part of the state. Also from Indiana, and for the Hoosiers, just Trent Sisley from a scholarship standpoint. So we'll see what that crowd looks like in there. Again, 9 o'clock tonight, Peacock, John Fanta, Robbie Hummel.
I love John Fanta, by the way. No one does college basketball better than my boy.
High energy, to say the least.
He loves his job.
Mr. Fanta, he definitely does. And Robbie Hummel, they have cloned him. That is real.
It seems like it. The dude works everywhere.
I swear, he might be on the call of Cathedral Cecina at the city tournament tonight.
He want to do it too.
There. Speaking of that game is moved to Cathedral. Colin Menrip had that news in the Star last night. I assume that's weather-related, e-learning related. So 7 o'clock, that game is bumped up. We're in Senior Bowl week here for the NFL, so you get some news items down there in Mobile on that. You ever been to the Senior Bowl, James?
I have. I went one time, I want to say back in 2022.
Worth it?
Not necessarily for me, I don't think so, because I went down there with the intention of trying to talk to Chris Ballard and a few other people related to the Colts, but that opportunity never really materialized. And because that hasn't happened since, they tell me every year I don't have to go.
Again, the Colts have had a long history, of course, of the Senior Bowl. Recent picks, Latu, Tanner Bortolini, Jalen Travis, Riley Leonard. So, practices start tomorrow down there. Game coming up this weekend. Or actually, practice may start today. I forget if they do a Saturday game or a Sunday game. But Elijah Surratt, Kalon Black, the Indiana representation down there. I did watch some college hoops last night. You got in both games, Duke, Louisville. Duke rolled. Shout out to Ryan Conwell. He was great for Louisville. No one else showed up for Pat Kelsey's team. And then Arizona, BYU. You got some NBA flavor, but I'm not going to lie, man. I was blown away by Arizona. I mean, that team, to be undefeated on January 27th in a major conference probably speaks for itself. But,
yeah,
man, they got 3 freshmen in the starting lineup, and they can play.
They might be here, come that time of the year.
AJ DeBansa was 6 of 24 from the floor. He had a hell of a defensive play by.
Don't draft him unless you're the Pacer.
Braden Burries late in that game to block that shot. Jaden Bradley was outstanding for Arizona as well. So pretty good college hoops from a national standpoint last night. All right, coming up, we'll talk much more on another meeting of Indiana and Purdue. 4.5-point favorite, the Boilermakers in this one. Rob Blackman, voice of the Boilers, joins us next.
listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
9 o'clock inside of Assembly Hall tonight. It will be the visiting Purdue Boilermakers against the Indiana Hoosiers. Darren DeVries' first experience at a rivalry that is always held in high regard in our state. And I always think back to Matt Painter with his flirtation with Missouri now many, many years ago, saying he thought about nights like tonight, walking inside of Assembly Hall as the head coach of Purdue and not being able to do that if he were to take that job. And Purdue fans very grateful that, of course, that did not happen. To talk more about tonight's game and I guess the travels down there to Bloomington, he is the voice of the Purdue Global Radio Network. The great Rob Blackman joins us. Rob, are you safe and sound still here in the Indy area, or are you down in Bloomington?
I am safe and sound in Zionsville, Indiana, my home. I did not, Kevin, the reason I chose not to go down last night with the team is because the old dreaded 9 p.m. start. I did not feel like sitting around a hotel waiting all day and all night for a game. So I'll drive down later this afternoon, take my time, mosey down, and, get ready for the dreaded 9 o'clock, which, as you guys know, is never 9 o'clock because you're the back end of the other games. You're going to be closer to 9:10 or 9:15. So, the beauty of television and their scheduling.
Yeah, hope you and Bobby have some extra material from 9 o'clock to 9:07 or something tonight. I assume the team made it down there. Do they bus or do they fly? Right? I guess they probably fly.
Yep, always bus.
Bus? Okay.
Northwestern Illinois and Indiana have always been the bus trips. Obviously for financial reasons, much easier and quite frankly just as convenient. But yeah, they bus down. Actually, they left yesterday afternoon, Lafayette, about 5:30 or so. So yeah, they're safe and sound.
So Rob, as an Illinois alum, I can't lie to you and say I didn't enjoy the last outing for the Boilermakers, seeing what Keaton Wagler was able to from the Purdue side of things, having lost the last two and being up late, where is the sense of urgency for this group to get back on track against IU?
Well, no, James, my wife is also a University of Illinois graduate. So.
Oh, you married a great woman. Never met her, but she must be great.
She is great. I have actually chatted with her. She's great.
It's always a difficult night in our house when the Illini beat the Boilermakers. But it comes down to one area of the game. I would argue, and it's on both sides, and that is 3-point shooting. Purdue's 3-point shooting has not been very good as of late, which is a bit surprising when you consider, Purdue typically, really the last handful of years, has always been in the top 10 in 3-point percentage in the country. I think about that year Purdue went to the Final Four. They were either number 1 or number 2 in the country in 3-point percentage. But that number has come back to earth a little bit, 36% if you're just looking at the Big Ten games. The problem is on the flip side, the opponent seems to have no problem making threes right now. You take out the USC game, and I think it's, for the last 5 games, again, excluding USC, the opponent has not only shot better than their typical 3-point percentage, but they've shot it significantly better, well up into the 40 percentile in most cases. And you look at Illinois on this past weekend, they were, 47%. Now, granted, one guy was 9 of 11 from 3, so that certainly helps sway the numbers a bit. But, yeah, to me, I'm not, as a Purdue fan, I'm not nearly as concerned about Purdue's 3-point shooting as a team. There are just too many good shooters on this team to think that number's not going to come back around. My bigger concern would be on the defensive end and guarding the 3-point line. That's where a marked improvement needs to happen. And look, start with tonight with Indiana, a team that makes 10 threes a game on the average, a team that lives on that 3-point arc. So that makes this game makes me all that more nervous for this one tonight in Bloomington.
Rob, watching that on Saturday, first off, I thought it was a great college basketball game. I mean, the shot making I thought was excellent. I thought Braden Smith coming back from the injury, he made some shots that, I kind of forgot that he was capable of. But it had me thinking back to Carson Edwards a few years back at Illinois, ironically enough. I did think about Jalen Hood-Schifino a few years ago inside of Mackey. I'm sure I'm not stirring up great memories for you, but do you recall a visiting player doing something like that inside of Mackey? I remember Boo Buie maybe had one of those performances for Northwestern, but maybe that was at Northwestern now that I think about it. Do you recall anybody recently having a game like that?
Well, the first guy I thought of, too, was Jalen Hood-Schifino. And first of all, let me answer your question directly, Kevin. No, that is the best performance by far. Just forget the points. I mean, that makes the answer easy when a guy scores 46 points, the most ever scored by an opponent at Mackey. But to do so in the efficiency in which he did, I told, as we mentioned a second ago, 9 of 11 from 3. And to be a true freshman playing at Mackey Arena. We mentioned this on the broadcast in the postgame. Most true freshmen that come into Mackey normally don't have a great first opportunity at Mackey Arena because it's so intimidating. That was not the case, obviously, for him, but that was easily the best performance I've ever seen from an opponent. Yes, Jalen Hood-Schifino popped up in my head as a guy that, and we may even have said that on the broadcast. As you're watching him, you're like, wow, an opponent to do this to Purdue at Mackey, you just don't ever see it. The only other, I thought of 2 others. Nate Mason, way back in the day from Minnesota, went for 31 and 10, I think, 10 assists against Purdue when Minnesota beat Purdue at Mackey in overtime. Last time Minnesota has won at Purdue. I thought that was one of the all-time great performances. I was thinking of that one. The other one I thought of actually was Evan Turner, Ohio State. He and Robbie Hummel had it felt like a one-on-one battle. I think it was Rob's senior year maybe at Mackey Arena, a game in which Ohio State eventually won. Evan Turner had, 32, 34 in that particular game. So those are the guys that first came to mind as I was trying to think about, all-time great performances from an opponent. But none of the guys, none of those names I just mentioned can hold a candle to what Keaton Wagler did on Saturday. I mean, I can't imagine, this is my 21st year with Purdue Radio. If I somehow managed to make it another 21 years, I can't imagine I would ever see that type of a performance from an opponent ever again at Mackey Arena. Maybe I will, but, man, if I'm a betting man, I would say no way because that was one for the ages.
Again, that voice, that is the voice of the Purdue Global Radio Network. Rob Blackman join us here. Him and Bobby Riddell will have you covered, and I think Greg Rakestraw and I, as we make our annual ascent upon US 31 and back from the Notre Dame-Virginia game tonight. I have a feeling we'll be dialing them up, certainly for a chunk of the game. Rob, you brought it up a few minutes ago, defending the three-point line, and, we discussed it yesterday on the show, and then Matt Painter, I know, was asked about it yesterday in the preview. It seems like so much of tonight, and really it's kind of a big picture question for Purdue right now, is about defending teams that have kind of that stretch 4, if you will. UCLA hits the game winner kind of off of that type of action there. Oscar Clough and Trey Kaufman-Renn are great post players, but they also defend 5s more than they defend 4s, if you will. It seems like tonight for me, Rob, boils so much down to who commits to the other defensively first. IU guarding Trey Kaufman-Renn and Oscar Clough, or Purdue having to chase Tucker DeVries around with IU now having more shooters out there with Nick Dorn in the starting lineup.
Yeah, and Kevin, I would add, are you trading 2 for 3 in that scenario? Sure. Right? Because obviously DeVries, every time he makes one, it's probably going to be for 3. And every time TK and Oscar makes one, it's probably going to be for 2. So you're already -1 in that exchange. But yes, boy, you look at what Tyler Bilodeau did on the game winner. You mentioned it for UCLA as a stretch 4. And you know what Illinois did so well, and our coaches had talked about this even leading up to the game, is they run an NBA-style offense where they get the ball in the hands of the guy they want it, and you guys watch a lot of NBA basketball, so you know this. Then they just start running a lot of ball screens until they get the switch they want. And then when they get the switch they want, then you're cooked. Then you're just kind of getting down on your knees and praying that the guy misses the shot because that's your only way of stopping them. And so they just kept screening for the ball for Wagler until they got the switch they wanted, and then he could go to work, and he certainly went to work. But back to the original thought, absolutely. If you find yourself going bucket for bucket tonight with DeVries or whomever it might be, you mentioned him as the stretch 4. Obviously Wilkerson's not a true 4, but he can obviously stretch the floor as well. If you find yourself trading baskets for Indiana tonight, probably not a good scenario for Purdue because, as I said, in that scenario, you're probably trading 2s for 3s. And even me, a guy who I'm not a real smart guy. You guys probably know this. So math maybe not my forte, but I know if one team gets 3 every time they make a shot and my team gets 2 every time they make a shot, it's probably not good for my team. So that will be a concern tonight. Absolutely.
Well, who needs to watch Sesame Street when you
I was
just
gonna
have
say, Rob, you're selling
Rob
yourself
Blackman
short
on,
there, man.
Who needs PBS, Mark? When I can just dial you up, and now my kids can learn everything. Thank you for that.
Rob, I do want to double back to Trey Kaufman. Ren, how would you evaluate the season he's had so far, knowing the talent he possesses, but perhaps, at least in my opinion, not being at the level that I'm used to seeing him at in Big Ten play?
Well, his numbers are down scoring-wise, but his numbers are also up in rebounds and assists. And I think that is, to be fair to Trey, that's probably what we expected coming into the season because of the addition of Oscar Clough, and now Trey plays the 4. And it's quite frankly, he just doesn't get as many touches in half-court offense because Purdue has done ever since Matt Painter has been there, Purdue throws the ball inside every time. That's just what they do. But instead of last year, Trey got to touch it every time because he was the one lone option in the post. Now you're splitting those touches between he and Clough. The other thing I would say to Trey, for Trey in his defense, because I know some fans have been getting after him because look, he had 19 20-point games last year. 19 20-point games. Purdue only played 36 games. And 20 of them, and 19 of them, he scored 20 points or more. He hasn't had a 20-point game yet this season. But again, a big reason for that is, well, as I mentioned, he's really splitting touches in the post with Clough, A, and B, he's playing really, for all intents and purposes, a new position in a lot of different ways. He mentioned, we had him on our podcast, I guess it was last week, I suppose it was, and he said, this is my 4th year playing, and I played 4 different positions for all intents and purposes. So I'm kind of relearning a new position now in the way I have to play as a 4 with Oscar Clough. So there has been a bit of a learning curve there for him, but yeah, I have to tell you, he, as a Purdue fan, he would be the least of my worries, simply because knowing what he brings to the table, he was first team All Big Ten last year. It's not like all of a sudden he's forgotten how to play. Are his scoring numbers down? Yes, but again, he's not the focal point of the offense, or really the only offensive option in the low post like he was last year when Purdue had no other option except for him.
For Pete's sake, that would be the podcast, Rob, referencing there, him and the great Joey Molinaro. Have some fun combos throughout the course of the athletic season for the Boilers. And as he said earlier, the stall tactics will be out tonight as they wait until probably about 9:10 for that one to tip off from Bloomington. Rob, safe travels down there, and have a great call.
We will try. Yeah, thank you, Kevin. Thank you, James. Thanks for having me.
That's Rob Blackman, voice of the Boilers, right there on the Payless Liquors hotline. We'll get John Herrick, the IU side of it, coming up at 9 o'clock.
My boy is married to an Illinois alum. Rob Blackman, you did right, brother. That had to be funny in the household.
How about her just still, all in on the Fighting Illini, even though the W-2 says Purdue Athletics.
I was going to say,
part of that household.
That is some true love right there.
That is.
I'm not going to lie, my loyalty kind of shifts depending on where the checks come from.
How about a favorite Colts moment from the season? I'm serious in that comment. We'll look back on that before we get to John Herrick at 9, Rick Carlisle at 9:30. This is the Fan Morning Show.
listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
I'd say the road's definitely better here on this Tuesday morning, but maybe not overwhelmingly better. So if you don't have to go out, probably would be wise just to stay in. But if you got to, you can definitely make it in here on this Tuesday morning. We'll chat with John Herrick, get the IU side of it tonight. Purdue and Indiana, 9 o'clock tip, a 4.5-point favorite, the Boilers, down there inside of Assembly Hall. We'll chat with him coming up in about 10 minutes. And Rick Carlisle at 9:30. James, if I did a poll for Colts fans, their favorite moment from the 2025 season.
I think you would have to go with the Berlin overtime win.
You going Jonathan Taylor run?
I'm going Jonathan Taylor run because not only was that run amazing, it secured you a big win overseas. You go into the bye week 8-2 and you're atop the AFC standings. The vibes were high, KB.
Could I... that individual play is probably yes. What about just winning in week 1 finally?
Oh, boy.
I'm not going to lie. I wrote that down. Ending the drought.
And, that was an ass-kicking.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
That was a beat down. That was in Miami.
Anthony Richardson got in that game, did he not? Or did Daniel Jones play the whole game? I don't know. Maybe he did. But that was, full control.
That was a good one.
You know the other one I thought of? And this is where, you get into win or loss. If Omar Cooper Jr. catches that pass and then Penn State comes down and wins, it's probably, it's an incredible play.
This is Caleb Williams and the Bears.
Right, exactly. It's a Caleb Williams play against the Rams there. I think back to the Seattle game. And I think for some fans, when Rivers threw the touchdown to Josh Downs, that was such a euphoric movie moment, That was Air Bud bounced the ball off his nose and it went in from half court.
Yeah,
that was
cool.
Ollie made the free throw. That was
fist pump afterwards.
Right, Rudy got the sack. That was. But honestly, maybe Blake Grupe's field goal in that game. Just the sheer oh my gosh, did that 60-yarder just go in? Thinking you're going to win the game, and I don't know if they make the playoffs if they win the game, but they certainly have more to play for in the final couple weeks of the season. So those were a couple others that I had.
Another one I had was at the home game against the Titans. I think it was week 8 at that point. You demolished them.
Right.
Pushed to 7-1. Jonathan Taylor's 80-yard run. Everything was moving and grooving at that point. Daniel Jones was locked in. Jonathan Taylor was running all over the field. That was whew, sky's the limit right now.
Was that coming out of halftime, Mark, if I remember correctly?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, to kind of piggyback off
4 minutes into the second half.
Yeah.
Because didn't he have a stretch there, Mark, where it was something he scored 3 rushing touchdowns in 4 straight games or something crazy like that where, JT, I want to say he scored maybe 17 rushing touchdowns through the first 10 games of the year. He was on one. Now, I think he finished the year with 20, so he had 3 over the last 7 games. But, boy, he was rolling. I will go with another moment would be, like you said, Kevin, after the Blake Grupe kick in Seattle. And just to give you all my perspective, being there in that moment in the press box and thinking, oh, my gosh, what if this dude just did the impossible? Because we saw that Seattle team, they're in the Super Bowl. Very good team. And old man Rivers almost got him. Back shoulder throw to Alec Pierce. Set you up for a 60-yard field goal. Man, that was something.
Yeah, and again, part of that I think is just the Rivers movie. Grupe almost looks like a movie character, given his stature. I that's where I'd go. Samuel is choosing to drink the other glass here. My favorite Colts moment was when the season ended.
Oh, come on, Samuel.
You weren't feeling that way after that win against the Titans in week 8.
Samuel, we got to get you to kind of see the glass as half full, brother.
I think the best individual moment, James, is probably the Berlin run. Taylor run.
Boy.
Maybe the overtime run. That's probably the best individual moment. I think Seattle you could point to. And then, again, just given the week 1 drought, Mark, you and I are on the same wavelength here. Just the sheer, because it's not like we thought Miami was just a pushover in week 1. I know they obviously struggled out of the gate, but, that was healthy too. That wasn't, Tad Boyle and Tyler Huntley you had beaten the week prior or the year prior.
We got Alex Lovern here in our YouTube chat saying getting a second chance with Denver. Yes. The leverage penalty had to be quite the swinging momentum, or swinging emotions rather, because on one hand you're thinking you lost the game, and on the other hand you're like, wait a second. It's like when you're a little kid and you count down in your driveway, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you miss, and then you tell yourself, oh wait, but there's more time. That's literally what happened to the Colts in real life, because that never happens.
It's a great analogy there. Yeah, I mean, it's gloomy outside. I guess it's not gloomy. I can actually see the sun, but, it's cold. There's snow. It strikes me of COVID in 2020. We were trying to look back on some uplifting moments. My sister-in-law, Mark, said on the family text yesterday, this feels like COVID. Does it not? Doesn't it feel like we're kind of trapped right now?
Yeah, it was weird.
It does kind of feel like that. Now, question.
I feel like I'm yelling at my kids earlier in the day.
We had the late.
If I can be fully honest.
We had the late, they have the late start today for Brownsburg. And I was just like, I didn't really think anything of it. And I was like, oh, you guys want a bowl of cereal? Like, yeah, sure. Had a bowl of cereal. Just like kind of winding down the night. And Ashley looked at me like after they finished their bowl. She's like, is it 11 o'clock? I was like, oh my God, it is. Go to bed. What are we doing here?
Yeah.
It's like just time does not exist right now.
Man, all I heard in that story is there's only one parent parenting.
I was in my own
looking
world.
at the clock, huh?
Yeah, she's like,
That
oh,
is
you got the
funny.
night at the hotel. Now you're just, give them cereal at 11 o'clock. I don't know. I was all over the board.
My mom always got on me. She told me she told me I wasn't really a fussy kid, but I wouldn't go to bed. And so she would come check on me at night or whatever, and I would just be up, just looking around. And she was like, all you did was look, and you would never go to sleep. And she also told the story about how she told my grandma that I wouldn't smile as a kid, which seems ridiculous now. I feel like I smile a lot. But yeah.
Make it up for lost time.
I know. She was telling me, she said she went to my grandmother and my grandma laughed in her face because she was like, my baby will not smile. And she was like, he'll smile when he gets ready. That's how it works. So little memory lane there on this chilly Tuesday.
Looking outside at the cars that are moving by, it does look like traffic moving pretty well. So again, morning commute for us, maybe a little, definitely better, but I wouldn't say you're crystal clear just yet here. Hopefully we'll be back to normal from a schooling standpoint coming up tomorrow. I think I speak for every parent out there with that.
How thorough of a car cleaner are you? Are you having the block of snow on your car where it's like, hey, whatever, as long as I got the windshield and the windows?
I'm not as thorough as I should be, if I can be totally honest.
I feel like I don't have an egregious amount of snow on my car, but yeah, I might be one of those people who has a little bit on the top. Well,
I'm in the boat. If I can gun it down Meridian fast enough, that thing's flying off anyways. I don't know if that's
I wouldn't recommend gunning it down Meridian
I don't know
today.
if that's the best way to say it. I'm son of a driver's ed teacher. I probably shouldn't say that out loud. All right, John Herrick, he will make the commute down to Bloomington tonight. We got the Purdue side of it with Rob Blackman at 8:30, the IU pre- and halftime and post-game show host. He is the great John Herrick. He joins us next.
The Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5.
Just go. I don't know
The
what
Fan.
happened before. Just go ahead.
Certainly a song we heard quite a lot in recent weeks and months, mostly for the football program, frankly. Tonight, you fans will want to hear that a whole lot down in Bloomington. 9 o'clock, and as Rob Blackman said to us a half hour ago, you know what that means. That means more like 9:10. It'll be Peacock. Tonight, Robbie Hummel and John Fanta will have your TV side of it, but of course over on WIBC, a man that will be carrying the baton a whole lot and pass it off to Don Fisher. He is John Herrick from WIBC. John, good Wednesday. Good Tuesday morning to you, sir. How are you?
It could already be Wednesday, Kevin, with how long this week has already seemed, thanks to Mother Nature. But yeah, I'm doing great, man. Surviving. How are you doing?
Amen to that, brother. Let's check in on the WIBC side of things before we get into tonight. Of course, John, the news director over there at WIBC. How we doing on traffic? How we doing on delays and closings today compared to yesterday?
Well, the weird thing is, Kevin, I think honestly delays and closings are a little bit more. My kids are at home today on e-learning, and a lot of people are home on e-learning or just closed, period. Bigger issues at the airport. FlightAware reporting a lot of flights that have been canceled or delayed at the airport this morning. Seeing a lot of slide-offs and accidents on interstates. It's the same thing. It feels like every winter storm. People are told to be careful when they are out on the roads, and some people just cannot be careful. And that's been another issue, again, with this winter storm. But the good side is where there were travel warnings, they've been reduced to either travel watches or travel advisories. So that means that the road conditions are improving enough that things are easing up and people can get back out there on the roads. But that doesn't mean that if you're just not under a travel warning that you can just drive however you want to. You still need to be driving very cautiously as you make your way into work or school or wherever you're going, because it's still pretty treacherous out there. These cold temperatures and ice are not going anywhere for a while.
So, John, you're saying when JMV tried to bully me into playing basketball Sunday over in Greenwood, I made the right choice to not drive?
Oh, you made the 100% right choice. 100%.
Going against JMV is probably where you should start in terms of most of your decision.
He told me he was going to
right?
slander me on the radio, and I was like, hey, I got to just take it, man. I don't want to be in a ditch.
Wise choice.
But on a more serious note, looking at the basketball side of things, we know what the football program has done. Everyone's riding high off that. But the IU on the hardwood has struggled a bit as of late. How big of a matchup do you think tonight is for a resume builder? Because if we look at this tournament resume, John, there's just not a lot of marquee wins on it.
Yeah, you're exactly right, James. And that's why this game is not just big from a rivalry standpoint, but it's also big from a resume building standpoint. This basketball team has got to start finding a way to stack quad one wins on top of each other. You had an opportunity against Louisville, couldn't do it. You had an opportunity against Kentucky, fell short in the second half. And then, you had a golden opportunity against Nebraska, struggled in the second half. Michigan State, you were right there with them, had a lead, and then Michigan State goes on a 19-0 run to win the game. So there's been opportunities, and there's been flashes where they have looked good. Metrically, they're ranked higher than like the last two IU basketball teams in previous years that didn't make the tournament, that they're better in terms of the metrics there, but they need to start. It's like Coach DeVries said yesterday in his press availability, it's not really about being concerned about the numbers. It's just being concerned about getting one win and stacking that on top of another win and just building on it, because it's probably going to take about 20 wins, I would think, along with some quad one wins in there for the committee to sit there and go, okay, let's put Indiana in the tournament. So they've still got some work to do. They're playing a Purdue team that's obviously elite. Matt Painter is one of the best coaches you're ever going to see or hear from. And I know his team is struggling a little bit right now. They've lost their last two, but they've been a very tough out for anybody in the Big Ten this year. And tonight should be an interesting but also very hard-fought ball game on both sides.
4.5, the line currently. Purdue favored over Indiana. John Herrick from the IU Radio Network, of course, with us here on the Payless Liquors Hotline. WIBC will have your coverage 8 o'clock, right, John? That's when you guys will begin tonight?
That is when we will begin. Mm-hmm.
8 o'clock for that one. Nick Dorn in the starting lineup. It's funny, John, we had this conversation a few weeks ago, and you just laid out IU's resume very well, and I think there are some questions, certainly, A, about the resume, B, when they play bigger teams, how well can they hold up on the glass, things like that. But I also feel like they have the offensive potency, and I said this before Dorn when the starting lineup, to where they can shoot it so well, they're going to pull off an upset at some point. Like, I'm a little surprised it's taken so long to do that. And then you watch Friday night and you see what Nick Dorn can give them. And now I kind of even believe that even more. What did you see Friday specifically and what Nick Dorn gives that starting lineup?
Well, I think you saw possibly the birth of a nickname. I mean, he was so good at hitting corner threes that the IU social media team started to call him Nick Dorner threes. So maybe those corner threes are he's knocking those down tonight, and that helps you.
Dorner,
helps Indiana win. Yeah. So I got to give all the credit to the fantastic IU social media team for coming up with that one. But no, I mean, you're right, Kevin. If he can start knocking down those shots, that changes the whole dynamic of everything. I don't know how DeVries is going to go with the starting lineup if Tatum Connerway is going to be healthy enough to start. He's battling a bit of an ankle issue, but he does need to be out there because Connerway is a threat, and he needs to be out there to take away, some offensive pressure from Lamar Wilkerson and Tucker DeVries and things of that nature. But yeah, if you just get Dorn going and he continues to build off of what he did against Rutgers, that is going to just make this team even more difficult to defend. The other thing I really loved, Kevin, about the Rutgers performance was when Rutgers started to make a run, Indiana pushed the lead to 20, and Rutgers very quickly cut that down to 12. And that would have been in the past where Indiana might struggle to, push the lead back up and respond. They did not do that. They did not struggle to respond. They immediately found a way to get that lead back up to even higher and eventually win the game by 23 and win a game at Rutgers where Indiana's not been successful. Let's face it, Indiana has struggled at Rutgers in recent years. That was their first win at Rutgers since the 2017-18 year. So that's definitely the confidence type of building win that you needed to have going into tonight's game.
John, how would you evaluate the season that Lamar Wilkerson is having? And when you talk about trying to get some of these marquee wins picked up, I feel like it's going to take perhaps some of those heroic performances that we've seen from him throughout the season.
Yeah, I think you're right there, James. But also, I think what has to happen is he has to start well. And then once he starts well and he starts taking attention away on the defense, that's just going to open things up for, Nick Dorn. It's going to open things up for Tucker DeVries. It's going to open things up for Tatum Connerway and other guys like that. And then, then what happens too is you get so concerned about what the perimeter is doing. You get so concerned about what Wilkerson and DeVries are doing on the perimeter that you see Sam Alexis get open for a dunk, Reed Bailey get open for a dunk. So it all seems to start with Wilkerson and flow from there. And I think that's what you're going to see tonight. Is they're going to try to get Wilkerson involved early, and his speed and his quick release on the shots that he takes are going to be important. It's also going to be important to see Tucker DeVries continue to do what he's doing. Before the Rutgers game, he was struggling, and to see him get back on track and get a double-double, very big for him and this basketball team.
John, did I miss this? And I unfortunately, I feel like IU fans were just still basking in the glory a week ago today that the Michigan game was on the back burner. Did I hear Don Fisher tell JMV that he missed his flight to Ann Arbor?
Well, if he told him that, I guess the cat's out of the bag. Yeah. Look, it was a crazy time.
Oh, sure.
We were all up until about 3 a.m. the night before, hugging and high-fiving, having some adult beverages. It was quite a night. And I thought he was fine. I thought he got to the airport on time. And then Susie, his wife Susie, came over and said, hey, Don missed his connecting flight, so we have to figure out an alternate plan. And then Brendan Gulick stepped in and did a very good job. And Brendan's a good friend of mine. Actually, Brendan and I worked in Oklahoma at the same time. We worked in the same state, did broadcasting in different ways. So when I heard that Brendan was going to make the drive over from Cleveland on kind of an emergency basis there, I was actually kind of relieved to hear that because I knew he would do a good job. But, yeah, I mean, sometimes in life and in broadcasting that happens, and you got to roll with the punches, and we did just that. But, yeah, what a crazy time last week was.
That is incredible. So what does Brendan do play-by-play wise? What's his full-time gig?
I think he's done a lot of stuff for Cincinnati, like the Cincinnati Bearcats and things of that nature, and he also does a lot of writing for online publications too. So he's very versatile.
So did he do it with Herrick then?
Yes, he did. Yeah.
So Herrick obviously traveled with the team there. That is too funny. Okay, we'll end with this. Gosh, I don't know. It might be a stupid question. Will you remember the Omar Cooper catch against Penn State more, the D'Angelo Pons pick six more?
Well, that's a great question. I think I'm going to remember the D'Angelo Pons pick six a little bit more. I'll give the slight edge to that, and here's why. Because how loud it got at the Peach Bowl the second he intercepted that pass and ran it back for a touchdown, that was a roar of a crowd and the feeling I'll never forget. The Omar Cooper catch was legendary and will always be remembered, but I thought once Fernando Mendoza got sacked, but he got back up and he threw a first down to Cooper, and then he threw a big pass to Riley Nowakowski and then Charlie Becker. I just had the confidence that once he got going on that drive, that Indiana was going to score. But you don't expect on the first play of the game that Dante Moore is going to get intercepted by D'Angelo Pons. I still can't believe that he decided to try D'Angelo Pons on the first play of the game, and yet he did. And because of that, I think that's going to be far more memorable to me. And just hearing how loud Hoosier Nation got at the Peach Bowl, something I'm not going to ever forget.
Yeah, I mean, it was deafening. I hate to put anything in a Keith Smart, sort of Christian Watford realm, but, there are several moments that deserve, I think, to be in that same sort of breath when it comes to IU athletics. John, congrats on a great year. I know it was super busy when those two overlapped a whole lot. Safe travels down to Bloomington tonight, and we will be lighting the midnight oil with you.
All right. Sounds great. Thank you, buddy.
That is the WIBC news director, and, of course, you hear him alongside Don Fisher and Eric Sewer. He is John Herrick. Dumb question, Pons, Cooper?
I don't think it's a dumb question. I'll probably lean towards Cooper.
Cooper, the more obviously athletic feat.
That's probably why I'm rolling with it.
The playoff magnitude for Pons there. And just there is something about the first play of the game,
Yeah, but it's something about maintaining that undefeated season.
Boy, and that Cooper catch, I went back and watched it yesterday, James. All of it. The actual catch, the athleticism to know where he is on the field, get the toe down. And if I watched it again, I mean, I thought that might have been good on Sundays.
Yeah, I think he got both feet down. He's going to be getting some nice money.
What do you think?
Here pretty soon.
Round 3, or did he bump into round 2?
Maybe round 3. But hey, I wouldn't be surprised if he does get his stock raised.
Again, Dane Brugler, we played that clip earlier. That was back in November. He shared with us he felt like Cooper was a top 100 guy. Top 100 is the first 3 rounds. It's top, 60, I guess, would be into round 2. So we'll continue to monitor that. And I assume he will be a combine invite here coming up in less than a month. Rick Carlisle will join us in 15. I'll continue to stress tonight. I just think it's so vital who commits to who more on that defensive end. And by that, I mean this. Again, Trey Kaufman-Renn and Tucker DeVries, if you were going to rank the positions, both of them would be labeled kind of as the power forwards of these respective teams. Guarding each other, I think, are major questions for each of them. Purdue's been hurt by the teams. I mean, you're Illini were the poster child of it, of a team that can really stretch the floor and make those bigs come away from the basket, whereas Tucker DeVries guarding anyone has been a question this year for Indiana. And the whole 2s versus 3s. I used to want to cuss at Mike Bray like none other when he refused to double the post at Notre Dame. And time again, he'd come in the media room afterwards and he'd get asked about it and he'd go, I'm no math major, but isn't 2 better than 3 for the defensive, aspect of it? Is that something that, Indiana, looks at tonight as they're trying to guard? And obviously, Purdue, how do they defend? Is it more Jack Benter? Is it less? Can they play Kaufman and Clough together? I think that's just a huge storyline for tonight.
Absolutely. And I'm excited to see, again, to John's point, can the Hoosiers get off to a strong start? Can Lamar Wilkerson get going early? Can Tucker DeVries get going early and give themselves a chance to kind of hang with Purdue, put some pressure on them? And then, like we always say, last 5 minutes of the game, if it's close, see who can win it.
And again, Purdue's been in those situations, up 5 and up 6.
I know, and they've kind of wilted the last couple times.
2 games heading in that final immediate timeout.
But boy, I still would love to have Braden Smith in every one of those situations.
Sure. No, and
wouldn't bet against him too often.
I mean, you look at the threes that have been hit against them. UCLA had the 2. Obviously, Illinois had a slew of them.
I mean,
in the
they
final
hit 4 threes in a
minutes.
row in like the last minute of the game.
And Wagler was only one, or was Wagler any of them?
I don't think so.
Right.
He had got to the point of distributing at that point.
Shout out to Jake Davis, the Indy product. He was one of them on that.
The Morning Checkdown, brought to you by the Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships. March starts here. The Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships with NCAA tournament bids online. March 8th through 10th. Tickets and more at horizonleague.com/Indy.
Boy, it'll be a big one tomorrow for the Butler Bulldogs. Speaking of Old Horizon action there, they are at St. John's. Thad Matta potentially tomorrow. We'll continue to keep you updated on that. But, James, let's go back to yesterday afternoon down there in the ATL. And it was Rick Carlisle wanting to keep this team around a little longer in that post-game locker room. Decided to show them the end of that third quarter yesterday. A 16-point halftime lead turned into a 15-point loss. That is a 1-4 road trip for the Pacers.
Yeah, I believe they still have the second worst record in the NBA. So, depending on how you view it, it could be a bad Pacer season or a good Pacer season if they end up with a top 5 pick.
Good to see Benedict Mathurin back yesterday. He was outstanding in the first half. Had 16 points off the bench. Was 0 for 3 in the second half. He was a part of the Pacers' issues there. And that one getting away from him. But first time back in 11 games missed for Mathurin with that thumb injury. Was wearing a little bit of a wrap brace thing on that right thumb of his. So Pacers will take on the Bulls tomorrow. I think it's Atlanta again on Saturday here in Indy. And again, we are about a week out from the NBA trade deadline coming up a week from Thursday. As we mentioned, IU and Purdue tonight. We'll await just kind of the injury report. I know some people have asked us even this morning about Trey Kaufman ran in that hip injury, James. It's something that, early in the season when he missed that game, I forget who it was against, but, he made it very clear back then. There was some uncertainty about the hip. They were kind of unsure about things. Mick Cronin, I know, had some quotes after the UCLA game saying he clearly does not look right to me. I don't believe he was on the injury report for the Illinois game. And then Braden Smith's ankle, he looked fine once he got back in the game. On Saturday, was any of that adrenaline related. Other stuff for me, Senior Bowl starts this week, so you'll see some Colts contingent down there. Elijah Surratt, Kalon Black, the Indiana representation down there in Mobile. And last night, college hoops, you did get a lot of NBA talent. Duke absolutely thrashing Louisville. Mikael Brown for Louisville really struggled from the field. Shout out to Ryan Conwell. That dude, I don't know what his future looks like, but he has been a bucket getter at every level of college basketball for him. He played very well last night. Cameron Boozer, very good. And then that second game, James, I know AJ DeBanza struggled, but man, I was blown away by Arizona. They got some dudes.
The fact that they're still undefeated in a major conference, like you said earlier, Kevin, with only a couple days left in January, they are no joke, and perhaps they will be here come Final Four time.
So our undefeateds left. Arizona, Nebraska, right?
I believe so, yes.
Arizona at 20-0, Nebraska at 20-0, and then Miami, Ohio, still at 20-0. By the way, shout out to, remember Josh Schertz at Indiana State?
Yes.
The St. Louis Billikens are 19-1. Ranked
Ooh,
21 in the AP poll here. He's got goggles still on the team.
Hey, ain't nothing wrong with that.
Robbie Avila, remember him?
Yes, he was like a fan favorite there.
Yeah, they're very balanced, St. Louis. I actually watched a little bit of their game a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, they're a team that I feel like can spoil somebody's March.
Yeah, 19-1. Close loss to Stanford being their only defeat of the season there. So they're a team to watch. I guess Atlantic 10 for them. It's actually a pretty nice college basketball slate tonight. I think one of the more interesting games. We talk about undefeated Nebraska. They are a 10.5-point underdog tonight against Michigan. How about that?
Boy.
Undefeated, and you're a 10.5-point underdog.
Yeah, that doesn't seem right, but also it speaks to the level of competition in the Big Ten.
So if you are looking for your viewing tonight, that will be the first game on Peacock. So Nebraska ranked 5 at number 3 Michigan. Again, Michigan favored by 10.5. That's your 7 o'clock tip. You'll have Purdue and Indiana then to follow that on Peacock there. I see that line is now climbed 5.5 for Purdue in Indiana. So Purdue favored by 5.5 in that one. And Greg Rakestraw and I, our annual trip up US 31. You guys heard Rake on Friday. He told me not to buy him the Mountain Dew.
Right. He's trying to make better choices.
Now, is that one of those
things
year? Like your wife telling you don't get her anything for a certain holiday?
Did you ever fall for that?
Well, if you fall for it once, if you fall for it twice, you might not see a third, if you know what I mean. Mark, should I fall for that? Should I fall for that? Or should
I don't know.
Should I
feel
go
like,
out of my? I don't want to like. Rake said he doesn't. He's trying to do, I guess, a little dry January almost.
Yeah.
I don't want to like
be a bad influence,
right? But I also want to show the man the respect he deserves. I mean, I hold Rake in high regard.
I think you get it, and you tell him, "Hey, just put it on ice for a while there, and when you've earned it, or you feel like you've earned it, you crack that thing open."
Yeah, was it one of my kids with a piece of candy here after church one day?
Yeah, when you put it like that, my grandma had some nasty candy in that purse. Shout out to Grandma Boyd.
Rick Carlisle joins us on the other side.
Grandma, how long has been in here?
It is.
Jesus was walking around when you had this candy.
Can I get an amen? Kevin Bowen, James Boyd, Mark Dykton.
And now it's time to make a choice. And all I wanna hear is yours. So follow the leader down.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Rick Carlisle and a few. Boy, Mark Dykton, that cluster truck. It is open today, and does that taste good?
Shout out to Evan. Brave the cold. Brave the morning check down because he's like, we're here. I'm like, oh, hold on. Give me a few.
Yeah, Evan Cheryl, that is on us. Big fan. Your promo code there at Cluster Truck. Outstanding. And that food's still hot. And I know he's been waiting outside. So apologies on that. Big fan. Your promo code. We did that tailgate special for the national title game a week ago. Tremendous. So football time. We got one big game left. That tailgate special will be very popular with a couple large pizzas. 2 pounds of chicken strips from Cluster Truck there. Rick Carlisle here in a few. You think Rick Carlisle did snow days back in the day? That man grew up in like upstate New York.
Yeah, I'm very curious to actually know his perspective on this. Is he got to give us a speech back in my day?
I bet he's got a strong opinion on it.
He probably does.
You think he's an e-learning guy? I mean, he's such a smart individual. I mean, went to a great institution in UVA. Oh, I guess I'm going to see his alma mater tonight. Should I bring that up?
Why not?
You definitely should. See if he wants to tag along. You want to be a third wheel to me and Rick?
That? Should we invite him?
You should.
Look at that.
Now, would nothing better to do.
I'd have to go back seat, right?
There's no way you're not letting him have shotgun.
Well, I mean, from a height perspective, yeah. Even though you're tall for the average man, Rick Carlisle might have you a little beat there.
Rick Carlisle's a legit 6'5".
Yeah.
Legit. Like, I see everyone's about Diego Pavia's height right now. Have you guys seen that?
5'9". He is shorter than your boy.
Measured in the Senior Bowl, 5'9". Vanderbilt had
There's
him
no way he's 5'9" either. I feel like that's already...
Dang, Mark.
I mean, I didn't think it was an official...
How tall are you, Mr. Dykton?
I'm probably right around there. I bet I tower over that man.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm going to go to the combine just to see. Let's go back to back.
That is true. I'm not going to lie. Whenever I am at the combine and I walk past a player, I do kind of think to myself like, oh, you're not really as tall as you say. I feel the same way in the NBA when I cover a Pacers game and I'm in the back hallway or something, Mark, and I walk past like Trae Young and I'm like, there's no way you're 6'2". There's just no way.
You know who's a lot taller in person is Tyrese Halliburton. Like, he is also a legit, like, 6'5". Maybe it's his limb. Like, he's a long
I was going to say, I think when you're skinny, you look taller because of it.
Yeah, no one's ever said that about me, but yeah.
Like, does his build make him look taller than, I don't know who else is 6'5" in the NBA, but.
Yeah, Benedict Mathurin.
Yeah. Like, if you look at him and Halliburton next to each other, you would think the Halliburton's taller, but.
I mean, no Colts fan probably wants to hear this or, cares about it, but I will always remember being at that combine, James, when I think it was C.J. Stroud was at the podium, then Richardson was right after him.
Boy.
And when Richardson walked up to the podium, I thought to myself, defensive ends aren't supposed to talk until tomorrow, right?
That was crazy.
And, like, C.J. Stroud's not Diego Pavia.
Mm-mm.
I mean, was he 6'2", 6'3", something like that?
But Anthony looked like a Greek god.
Oh, yeah. Which,
by the way, did you see him playing basketball? See that video? He went viral. He was playing basketball with the goggles on.
Goggles on. I was
at the Earth State YMCA.
Man, that man loves hoop.
He does. I was thinking to myself, brother, make good choices now.
Now, JMV, give him an invite ever.
Oh, boy.
Now, you were in the YMCA when he was playing, but you were not on the floor with him. Is that correct?
I actually played against him years ago.
Did, but you didn't get near him. Was that what it was?
Yeah, we were guarding each other, and I did not guard him because I was thinking to myself, at the time, he was the face of the franchise.
Mm-hmm.
Could you imagine he comes down on my foot?
So you cared more about that versus him going Patrick Beverly, mouse in the house on you?
Well, it was twofold. One, you're not going to dunk on me, and that video lives in forever. And then two, imagine you dunk on me, and you land on my foot, and then you're out for the start of training camp. Oh, I was terrified. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Is today 35 years ago today? Is that the Bob Knight rant? I'm tired of losing to Purdue.
Play that in the pregame tonight.
You guys have heard that, right? The secretly recorded.
Yes, that would be hilarious.
Yeah, I think you guys have something up on it on the Athletics website.
Play that and then have Cignetti come out and say Purdue sucks right at pregame.
I think Cignetti on the mic tonight's a must. And now the key is just when do you do it? I think for Indiana to have a legit chance tonight, they need Cignetti on the mic.
Do you need it at halftime though? Maybe second half rally?
No, too many people are on the concourse. And now I'm talking second. I know the under 8 timeout's always very infamous. You get the flags down there in Bloomington. Yeah, I don't know if you can wait till the under 4 timeout, but yeah, him on the mic, absolute must. Absolute must on there.
Should get the juices flowing for sure.
Yeah, definitely on that.
All right. Well, I mean, another thing I wanted to hit on, we're talking about the Colts earlier, and one of the issues that I've had when evaluating this team, KB, is when I look at where these teams are that are going to the Super Bowl and where the Colts are, and I can't get that statement from Ballard out of my head of them being a top 4 team, like him believing they were a top 4 team in the NFL. How do you get back to that feeling? Because I feel like so much has to change this offseason, but you don't have necessarily the biggest means to do so.
Well, I said to Joel Erickson, we had him on yesterday.
Because you can't run it back. Is like you can't run it back.
Like when I hear younger and faster defensively, okay, what does that now look like free agency-wise? I kind of look at the offseason and say, can you find a starting defensive end opposite Latu and then a new linebacker? Like, is that where you start the offseason, again, roster improvement? Basically, I'm asking for, can you go out there and find a Cam Bynum and Travaris Ward of the front 7? Last year, and again, let's put the Ward situation to the side with the concussion. You found 2 impactful guys in the secondary, in Mooney Ward and Cam Bynum. Can you do the same now in the front 7? One at defensive end, one at linebacker. Now, what makes it difficult as we sit here right now, a month and a half away from free agency, is how readily available is a little bit harder without the first-round pick. Now, last year, the first-round pick went to Tyler Warren.
Right.
But
questionable pick.
But the cap space this offseason is a little different when you're talking about Daniel Jones and Alec Pierce.
Right.
And again, how you create that and all of that. By the way, I totally misread my text. Rick Carlisle will join us tomorrow. Apologies on that front. That's totally on me. I dropped the ball on that. Thank you, Mark.
You know what? You might need some e-learning for punishment. We need to get you sitting down.
You're walking to South Bend now, not tonight, my friend.
I can distinctly remember where I was. I was giving Nelly the bottle last night when I got the text saying, hey, Rick at Wednesday at 9:30. And I did just a little thumbs up. And I did I'll remember that. Do you guys do that? Like when you say you'll remember it versus like what I oftentimes will do is like screenshot it.
Yeah.
And then I'll go back downstairs and I'll scroll through my pictures and be like, okay, what did I want to jot down on my notes? Am I losing brain cells, you think?
Nah, I think you have a young child that probably took a lot of the priority in that situation.
Man, I've never needed Rakestraw more in my life than this 5-hour therapy
Now, I will
session.
say he's somebody I don't think that he ever really does the whole, forgot this happened.
Has he forgotten anything?
I don't think so.
I was hesitant to text
him. If he does, then you really know it's not important.
I will say, I made amends with Rake. He said I don't say what's up to him at these games last
did you
Friday.
See him? Carmel Pike.
I said what's up to my boy, and he told me about time.
Should I text Rick Carlisle for a little side bet for tonight, or betting in the NBA is probably not something I should dabble in?
One, probably shouldn't dabble in that. Two, I don't know if you have the same pockets to be betting. You know, big bank take little bank.
What? Yeah, that's an understatement. If I thought Mouse in the House for you and Anthony Richardson, it'd be like Muggsy Bogues next to Yao Ming comparing my bank account to Rick's. What do you think about that? DN linebacker. So is it okay? Are you going another defensive lineman? Are you going another linebacker? Are you doing something else? What about Nick Cross at safety? What do you think?
Here's my issue. I'm probably still leaning towards defensive end and linebackers, like the two biggest needs to change on defense and to get younger and faster. But you only have so many draft picks, right? And assuming that you use a second-round pick on a defensive player, hopefully that player can come right in immediately and be a factor for you, although that didn't happen last year when JT Tuimoloau out, a second-round pick, hardly played. But, Kevin, my issue is if you want a proven commodity, it's probably in free agency, and they're probably not young. So how do you kind of thread the needle there where you want to get faster and younger, but the odds of you getting a young, good pass rusher is just not going to happen in free agency.
Especially, yes. And then again, hitting on one instantly in the draft. Like, theoretically.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm like, how do you.
JT Tuimoloau and Latu, I think you can make the argument, James, they were two of the most proven pass rushers we've seen come out in recent years. Ohio State and UCLA, big-time sack numbers. Tuimoloau did it throughout their playoff run.
Yeah, he went off.
And how many sacks did he have last year?
I'm not even sure. Was it a one full sack, if that?
Double check me on that. I'm a little nervous. It might be the goose egg. And Latu had what, 4 in his rookie season?
Yes.
So, I mean, think about it like that. Again, those were not, more in the project type of pass rushers. And they
0 sacks
for Tuimoloau. Yeah.
Right.
And again, that's in a defensive end room that you were begging for someone to truly emerge there. So I think that's what makes it difficult. And, there's a part of me, and again, I thought Latu and Tuimoloau probably exemplified this more than recent Ballard draft picks, but I do think a little bit of the Curt Cignetti philosophy has got to be adopted here. Cignetti says quite often it's production more than potential. And I get in the draft, you walk a little bit of a line when it comes to that, in that, you obviously want, Nick Cross is an example of more of a potential guy, and he got there for you. He eventually hit on that. But I think this year's draft has got to be more, especially if you want to get the 2026 returns on it, you've got to adopt more of the Cignetti mindset. Production over potential when it comes to your draft picks. And I think too often Ballard has probably opted for the other, potential over production.
We'll see, but boy, there's a lot riding on whatever decisions you make. Because again, I can't sit up here and justify you being in a building mode. You need to be the team that's already built come September. Because what else are you trying to sell us on at that point? What can you sell this fan base on? You said you were a top 14 before the injuries and all that last year. Then how do you get back to that point? How do you make yourself a contender? And I remember asking Ballard that question, and he kind of danced around it a bit, because you never want to commit to anything, and I'll give him that. You don't want to commit to anything in January. But if you can't commit to yourself being a contender, then what are we doing this for? Why are you here? Why are they bringing everybody back? So I'm very curious to see what they do.
If I gave you one area on offense to address with a notable resource, what would that be?
One area on offense to
we
address
talk so much about defense.
Notable
I'll give you a
resource.
3rd round pick on the offense side of the ball. You would spend it where?
I might spend it on a receiver, assuming that Pittman's not here next year.
I thought receiver. I thought in my mind offensive tackle, and I don't think this year you're ready for it quite yet, James, but man, at some point I might dabble in another running back.
Oh, yeah.
I think you just, again, Taylor strikes me as a guy that can defy the odds, but the odds at running back, Father Time wins every time.
Every time.
Derrick Henry's the only one that can wag his finger at it. So, yeah, that's one that I would think about. But I guess to answer my own question, I think, again, a lot of the notable resources here will be on the defensive side of the ball.
I'm dipping my toe in the quarterback room.
Oh, boy.
Quarterback. You would draft a quarterback in round 3?
Yeah.
What
Mark, are your answers? I mean, assuming you're re-signing Daniel Jones, what are your projections?
What do you mean? They told us Riley Leonard is the future here.
Well, that's what
Possibly.
they say.
No, I'm joking. I see what you're saying, Mark. And
they always say at the what is it? Bill Polian has said you should take a quarterback every single year.
Yeah, I have adopted that mindset. I do think that, but there's part of me that thinks Riley Leonard is now your developmental QB for a year.
Right.
I don't know how many of those you can have, Mark. I don't ignore it, but part of me thinks obviously Jones, think about it. Leonard could get a valuable offseason here.
Mm-hmm.
He might get all the starting reps into training camp, maybe even into training camp.
Preseason even, maybe?
Right, depending on Daniel Jones' situation here. So, has Riley Leonard elevated from the 6th rounder, I guess is what I'm asking. Is he viewed a little bit higher in your eyes? I don't think, there's some comments I think that you've said that are dumb, but I don't think that's one of them.
Well, thank you. I guess that's a compliment.
Jeez. That reminds me of when Jeff told you one time, I think that's the best idea you ever had, Kevin.
I know. Can you guys believe I thought Rick Carlisle was today?
Hey, it happens, man. You gave us a little pump fake, a little triple threat. It's all good.
I'm not going to lie. Sunday, I was like, are there football games today? I thought today was like Tuesday or something. I didn't know what was going on.
I mean, I said to John Herrick, I said Happy Wednesday to you. It's got some COVID vibes to it right now.
Yeah, we're just getting by. But again, I think the roads are better today. But for those traveling, just because they're better does not mean you should be driving at the normal rate of speed.
Thank the Lord COVID wasn't during the winter. When did it start? Like mid-March?
Yeah.
I mean, at least we could go outdoors. Can you imagine if it was like this?
No, I don't want to imagine that.
Gosh. Can you imagine how much you would have hated your family?
I loved them a lot more when I moved out.
Kevin's just laying on the couch right now, just talking into a microphone.
I know.
I am. We got Notre Dame, UVA tonight. We'll get you set.
That'll be his therapy, Mark.
Bowen and Rakestraw up US 31.
Maybe Carlisle.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to dial that one up. And then Purdue and Indiana down in Bloomington. We'll get you set one final time.
listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Am I not reading the clock right today, Mark?
We've had some clock issues.
It's fine.
Yeah, you're good.
Was there a reference to Coldplay and clocks here?
No. No one's on the Jumbotron right now holding each other when they shouldn't be.
That had to be one of the funniest moments in 2025.
You know, it's funny. Obviously, that's not what people think about when it comes to Coldplay. When I hear this song, and I don't think SportsCenter does it anymore, but you guys ever watch Images of the Decade? SportsCenter would do.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
It's now on YouTube, and the one that I'm referencing is like 2000 to 2009, and it's this song that leads off in it, and it's so well done. I mean, capturing all the images. Ironically enough, one of the early images in the video, again, it's 2000 to 2009, is Bob Knight in Dunn Meadow speaking after his firing with an IDS podium, Indiana Daily Student podium, in front of him, which I always laugh at when I see that image there. And now we are full circle tonight. 35 years ago today. Is that right? The infamous, I think it's a more colorful language than I hate losing to Purdue. I forget the exact language. But
I was going to say, are we, I mean, look at who we're quoting here.
Yeah. The infamous Bob Knight quote inside
I
of
don't think Bob Knight ever had a clip that was FCC approved.
Inside of the post-game locker room.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I should look that up. I'm like, probably would have to do a lot of work on editing.
Yeah, the dump button would have to be readily available.
Is that are you not going to recover Greg Graham? I'm trying to think if that's the full. I think it is. I mean, hell, there's so many of them with Bob Knight. Clearly I can't get my days straight. Lord knows I can't get my my Bob Knight quotes. I'm really looking forward to the game tonight. Again, Racer and I are going up 31. We're going to Notre Dame, Virginia. I can't wait. It's one of my favorite days of the year. I'm so excited.
I do love that arena. I went up with my boy.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, no, seriously. I went up with my boy, Aaron Ferguson, sports editor over at Indy Star. He's a big Virginia Tech fan. So when Notre Dame played Virginia Tech in women's basketball, this might have been last year or the year before during the combine. And he's like one of my best friends. So he told me he had a ticket. And I remember covering the combine that morning and early afternoon, jumping in the car and heading up to South Bend.
There you go. Yeah, it is a nice arena. There are times I wish it was a little bit more full and a little bit livelier in there, but Virginia's ranked, so we'll see what the environment looks like tonight. And then as Rake and I drive home, you guys have said I'm good to watch the game on Peacock, and we'll have radio in the background.
There you go. It's a good setup.
Rob Blackman first half, Don Fisher second half.
Who's complaining about that? I mean, we're talking about, I think, actually, Rob Blackman was the sportscaster of the year for Indiana. And then we all know Don Fisher should probably have a statue down in Bloomington. Two legends.
That's the plan here tonight.
Great plan.
I did double check with Maddie. I'm like, are you good with me going? She's great. So supportive.
I would hope so.
Well, I mean,
need a little bit of that in the marriage, right?
Yeah. Right now, I mean, Nellie's 9 weeks old, and we got this weather going on, and Notre Dame basketball probably isn't high on her priority list.
I feel like your excitement with Rake has improved your voice. Your voice has gotten better as the show's progressed.
Well, that was a struggle there in the 7 o'clock hour.
Oh yeah, that's all right. We pushed through. We powered through. Unlike our boss.
I dabbled with a throat lozenge that I take out during the break. I feel like I'm wearing my retainer again.
Do you still have second-degree burns from the tea, too?
No, the skin is a little red, but it has progressed better on that. I am really looking forward to tonight. I know the spread's 5.5. I think this is a lot closer to a pick'em game than that. I'm trying not to be prisoner of the moment with Purdue, but I think Indiana maybe's found a little something with that starting lineup. And Nick Dorn can flat out shoot it. And boy, I just feel like if you can shoot it that well on the road inside of that arena tonight.
You kind of need what Illinois had happen, where they just made a bunch of threes and you're able to kind of keep hold of the rope. I think the first 5-6 minutes tells us a lot about how this game is going to unfold.
I just have a lot of defensive questions with Purdue. I guess I assume CJ Cox is on Wilkerson. I mean,
that will make the most sense.
You're giving up some height there.
But he can also chase and move.
But then again, with Dorn in the starting lineup, they're a little bit bigger. So is that, a lawyer chasing Dorn around? Braden Smith would then be on Joe Dirt. Boy, Joe Dirt and Braden Smith are going to get into it tonight.
Oh, yeah. Braden Smith he talks. He's fiery.
And Joe Dirt,
what a name.
does.
What a name.
Yeah. Connor Enright, for those that are very confused why I'm saying the name Joe Dirt. But again, Purdue has an unquestioned advantage from a post standpoint in the past. I've been very impressed by Oscar Clough, honestly. When these big men transfer up, Indiana's seen it with Reed Bailey right now from Davidson. It's one thing to finish through length at the mid-major level.
Yeah.
It's a different to finish through length at the Big Ten level or the SEC level.
I also think Oscar has the body for it, though. Pretty thick
right,
guy.
Definitely. But Bailey's really struggled.
Yeah.
Whereas Oscar Clough's been, I think, pretty efficient for them. And it's been needed because Trey Kaufman-Renn, whether he's playing through injury or not, that's been a big storyline here for Purdue. So, reminder, that is 9 o'clock, our coverage, WIBC, 8 o'clock for that one. And Nebraska, Michigan at 7 o'clock. So, outstanding Big Ten night, but you need the cock for it.
Not saying a thing.
I didn't know what to say after that. Should I pull a Rickard and say, I don't know where we go from here?
I think you just walk out and leave, like Kevin Flail.
What do I
for the next
do
90
with
seconds.
this?
The cock needs to be in you tonight here. 7 o'clock, Nebraska, Michigan on Peacock, Indiana, Purdue. Do we have the sounder, Mark? Maybe to try and save this a little bit?
No, I think I'm going to let you just flail out there. Aaron unintentionally chimed in and said, there you go. Aaron chimed in and said,
I meant the Peacock sounder.
Oh, no, not that one. It said, I think Notre Dame trip with Greg Rakestraw has Kevin Bowen as what JMV would call a sports arousal.
Yeah. I'll probably let James walk out of the studio before I do today.
Oh, boy.
That's how I'm feeling here on this
Tuesday
morning. Thank you to John Herrick. Thank you to Rob Blackman, Rick Carlisle. Tomorrow, might have Thad Matta join us tomorrow. It's a big one for Butler at St. John's. You look at quad one opportunities, and I know we're kind of nerding out over the bubble here. Indiana's squarely on it right now. And Butler, I think 3 of their final 10, I want to say, are quad one. Indiana's got 7 of 10. So Indiana definitely has more on the quad front here. What is Illinois got to be like a 1 or 2 seed right now? Probably 2 seed.
Yeah, I think we've won, 9 straight now? 11 of our last 12?
Oh,
we're rocking and rolling, baby.
He's using that pronoun a little differently than he used it during the football season, is he not?
Well, I was rolling with him until we lost by 50. Then I had to jump ship.
Interesting on that front.
I don't roll with losers now.
Mark, James, Kevin, we're signing off. Jeff Rickett will be back tomorrow. Stay safe, Indy. Stay warm. We'll talk to you 7 a.m.